Hey guys, Tarke here, and today we are joined by Noogie eating his dinner to talk all about Harvest League. So, Noogie, what is your reaction to the patch notes?
That's not very polite.
That was very tactical, yeah.
I mean, sure. My reaction. Why do they hate melee? Also, melee looks really fun.
Okay. I'll swing back around to you. I'll let you get a couple more bites in. Raiz, what about you? What was your initial reaction to the patch notes?
I love it. I love everything. I love nerfs, and it's all nerfs pretty much across the board, except a couple really bizarre standouts, like Bull Lightning and Magma Orb, and Freeze Pulse and Frostbolt.
Fireball,
pretty...
240% effectiveness.
Yeah, but it's still Fireball though. See, I'm with you on the Fireball, but it's still Fireball. I think I just played too much of it to it's like Perforate good, like a massive buff. Fucking Perforate.
Perforate's bug, dude. I legitimately
Yeah.
think Perforate's gonna be like the sleeper OP melee. Everyone's gonna be like, oh, Earthquake, and then one guy will do a Perforate video and everyone's gonna swap.
I'm really surprised that Perforate counts as a slam. I don't know. I didn't think it would. It doesn't seem very slammy to me. I don't know what the criteria is for something to be slammy, but Perforate isn't it.
Hit the ground, dude.
I think Perforate's gonna be really strong. It's just not my type of skill, you know?
Yeah,
fucking looks hella boring. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I love nerfs, more nerfs. I hope they keep this up and make the player base cry. And the Hunter nerfs kind of nice too. Oh yeah, dude.
What about you, Ziggy?
The melee stuff was more of mitigated buffing than I expected, I guess. There was mitigating effects in there, like toning back a lot of the unique two-handers and stuff like that, a little bit more than I expected. But I do have to say I was expecting the two-handed changes to not do as much as they did. I was expecting them to not look at things like leech and stun and stuff like that. So they put more thought and more coverage into a lot of the other problems of two hands besides just damage. So I'm glad that they kind of went those extra steps. Like, for example, if you didn't see they made it so that you can get a lot more single hit leech, which is essential for two-handers for making that like a viable source of sustain. So pretty keen on that aspect of it. Yeah, I'm still waking up though. So
in general, those patch notes were kind of interesting in that way, where I initially saw them. I was like, oh, they're not that long. I mean, 9 pages, okay. But then half of it was just like, oh yeah, you're gonna have to click on the skill tree to see all the changes, the clusters. It's like you could have just extended them. Pretty much the biggest patch notes ever. They just didn't actually post all the changes in them.
The thing I found the funniest was they listed the cluster jewel stuff, we've changed the following, and they listed this massive paragraph, and then and others. What was the point of that? Why? Just say we've changed them all. Look in POB. Before I ask Octavian, I'll just quickly mention, because I was recording my video talking about it, and there was the bug with the POB where it made the blind aura disappear from Sab. So of course I spot that, and I'm like, dude, the hell. So I sent a message over to Bex, and she's like, oh, it's fine. It's just a POB bug. Here, you can check out this handy resources, and she links me the page which has every single notable, including stuff that wasn't changed, stuff in the cluster jewels. There's no formatting, and it's just what am I meant to do with realistically? What am I meant to do with this? It's helpful.
That's where
it was alphabetical
from.
Yeah,
because people kept linking that shit to me, and I'm just like, why are people linking this? I guess you mentioned it on stream, and people were like, yeah, this is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just old and
for the person saying you can control F, that's fine. But the problem is you don't know what you're control Fing for. Are you meant to manually check every single passive? Wonder if did they change this? The other thing that tricked me out a lot is there were lots of the notable wouldn't change, but they would change a minor node in a cluster wheel. So that I'm sure there's still loads of very strong little minor nodes that we haven't noticed have been buffed yet. But anyway, Octavian, what about you?
What are my thoughts on the patch notes overall?
Yeah.
I like a lot of the smaller side buff stuff. I don't know. I'm not really that much of a melee player, so I'm not really gonna be all that excited for the melee changes in general and for two-hand and all that. I agree with Ziggy that addressing some of the like core problems with two-hander that aren't just DPS was probably a very good decision, and that's more the direction it needs to go in. But I'm more excited for things like Frostbolt having better damage and things like that one faded two-hander that gives you the Nova. What is it?
Ulnatol
Geofreeze mace.
Oh.
No, not the Ulnatol axe. I don't think that's
Oh,
honestly
don't
very
talk
good.
about it.
I think the Geofreeze mace is going to be potentially really strong and fun to build around. Like those smaller things, I'm really excited for more than the big two-hander bonk changes.
How could you?
I'm sorry.
Everything is about the bonk.
I'm not a
Life is
bonk
about the
boy.
bonk.
I'm not a
The
bonker.
Joffrey's is about the bonk too, man. I think so.
Okay, we're gonna let him do some last minute sippage, and then we'll swing back around to Niggy now that he's had that little.
No pressure.
No pressure, Niggy. Don't choke.
Dude did not digest.
No.
That was some quick eating.
Yeah.
Eating that meal. Did you see that?
You know when you start like just vacuuming, you know, just inhaling food.
Oh my.
I mean, I had a PT appointment today I needed to do. Then I didn't get a lot of sleep, and then I slept 2 hours, and I finally woke up, and then I was like straight into streaming. I've been streaming all day until now, and then I was like, oh shit, like time has gone so fast. It's like, oh no, it's a 10 minutes Baeclast. I need to eat, otherwise I won't have any energy.
No,
For the whole Baeclast.
I'm glad you ate. I wouldn't want you to like die on stream. That would actually be really good publicity. Has anyone died on a podcast before?
Not that I know of.
That could be a world
my
first for
knowledge.
Twitch. That'd be pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus. That's ruthless Twitch.
Who's volunteering?
So anyway, Niggy, so aside from like the melee stuff, what would like your general thoughts on the patch notes?
I mean, as a long-term player, I always enjoy it when they do small things to a large amount of skills. I mean, they probably won't look like much to maybe newcomers and people who haven't really touched certain skills before. But for the people who've been playing a long time, I mean, small things can make you very excited. So it's good to see that they sprinkle that in. The Uniques was a wild ride between things I just don't understand to things I'm very excited for. So it's, I mean, Starfall. I don't get why they had. I mean, on one hand, I understand their reasoning because they want us to force.
On two hands,
kinda
you mean?
wanna-
Sorry.
Yeah, the Starforge. They want to force us to craft, but then endgame boss, and then the weapon seems kind of mediocre. Seems just weird to me. Unless there's something I'm missing with it.
Yeah, there are a couple of weird changes, and this wasn't even a melee change. But can anyone justify the Arborix change? They destroyed that bow.
I don't get it at all.
I mean, it's
It's a cool idea. I don't know. Maybe I think they could have left Arborix as it was and designed a new bow with that idea.
I mean, they could have taken because there aren't that many good unique bows anymore. There are very few. There's like
What do you mean?
Windripper if you want to
They're-
MF. Voltaxic is still a meme. Chinsoul they kind of killed. Lion Eyes Glare is still good. And then Neuros is kind of a joke. And Arborix was like a good one that people would use. And then they just kind of
But they
killed
just
it.
remade Reach of the Council. What are you talking
Oh
about?
god,
It's
that
great now.
reach is so rough, dude.
Arrows everywhere.
Except for you need
Whoops,
them.
all arrows.
I had a lot of fun reading the Arborix changes because when I was first reading it, I was being like, "Whoa, yeah, this is really interesting. Okay, all right." And then it's like the effects are disabled. The good effects that you need to get is like if you haven't dashed recently, I'm like, "Wait, you want me to not dash 4 seconds on my bow build, and I can't use Blink Arrow as well to get like any sort of extra benefits?" I'm like, "Oh my god, what a wild ride that bow was!" Reading that bow description.
So your blink and mirror arrow clones can't dash. But I guess you can't make them with that bow. Fuck,
No, you
never
can't.
mind.
No, yeah.
Damn it, you can't even do that.
Nope, you're stuck with dash. That's it.
would've been fun.
Seriously though, like dash is so important for bow builds now.
Yeah.
It's what if you haven't used it yet? It's like such a huge survivability boost, if nothing else. Like it's essential in boss fights, and even while clearing, it's like it's huge. So yeah, it gives you like a bunch of move speed and stuff when you're using it, but not being able to use it to gain its like other effect is just very questionable.
Well, even that is backwards because it's like, so if you missed it from the patch notes, they took the bow, it gives you a level 30 dash, and after you dash, you gain attack speed and movement speed. So when you're dashing, you're faster, but then if you haven't dashed, you deal damage. Like, surely you would want the movement speed when you haven't dashed, and that's like the opportunity. It's like you either have very high movement speed or you're slower, but you can dash. It's just fucked. It's fucked. You need
I
the
love
prop.
how this is like a super Baeclast where it's literally the day after patch notes. Everybody's super excited. There's a trillion changes to a trillion things in the game. And the first topic that we're hung up on is some fucking bow that nobody's going to use. And we're just complaining about it.
Welcome to complain class.
Okay. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. So Starforge, back onto Starforge.
Complain some more.
Okay, all right. More positive though. How entertaining was it? Everyone freaking out and raging about the unique nerfs in the patch notes before we got the notes about how much damage the bases are increased by, because we were like, we increased the bases by 15% damage, and then they're like, we nerfed the damage on this unique by 90%, and I'm like, what the fuck? Everyone's blowing up. The uniques are all going to be complete trash now. And then the I don't know if you've seen the spreadsheet yet, but it's like buff, and
I
things
think
like
it's Series Disable
way
lost
better
like
across the board.
0.6 damage.
Yeah, but it's higher flat damage, which is probably better for it, I think, in my opinion.
No,
But,
it lost
yeah,
literally like
Disable didn't really
literally
change
like 0.6 between the ranges. It's really weird.
Oh yeah, that was the nerf. It had nerf in all caps, and it's like 0.6 damage less.
What about Starforge? Did it actually get nerfed or what?
No,
I
it
might
got
be missing
nerfed.
something.
It lost like 200.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah, but
oh,
like
no, have I been,
think about it, right? Like they're releasing this thing where they want people to play two-handers. They're introducing an archetype with slams, you could argue, right? There's Warcries and everything. And the best weapon would be a unique, like in Harvest League, where crafting is the way to play the game. Like I feel like they sort of had to do something to the natural unique pick to encourage people to actually generate some interesting rare weapons. Although apparently you can get like 1.5k DPS vol axes and shit now, so
like I agree. It's a
place.
shame when uniques are the be-all, and I like that rares are better. But I will say it does feel a bit odd when it's like, to do the content these weapons come from in the first place, you need to craft a really good rare. So it's like you craft this amazing weapon, you kill the big end game boss, and then it drops a shit item in comparison to like a starter rare. Like that feels weird. You know what I mean?
But Starforge has HP, dude.
I mean, if they want to go that route, they could make the HP on Starforge a lot better. Like that's like if they're gonna have these unique attributes onto the thing, they maybe could have buffed that in compensation. You know, like if Starforge is meant to be the weapon, you know, the two-hander that gives you health and AOE, then give it like 50% AOE and 180 health or some shit.
My dream was that they would have
like Count's the weapon.
I had a dream about Starforge that they would have made a unique or like a special base that was just Starforge, so you could corrupt 5 of them and sell them to the vendor.
That'd be cool.
And that's like how you would make the Starforge weapon a craftable one. I think that could have been cool.
I mean,
but I think it's just an info.
The idea of bosses dropping bases, I think, is pretty cool, and we only have that with Aziri. I think that's something they could really explore. Which is kind of one of those things. It's like you kill Hydra, instead of Hydra dropping a bow, she drops a really good bow base, and I think that'd be a really cool way of taking bosses.
I like it.
Oh
yeah. Do you know what I also like? 626 base damage Moroi Urki. Did you see the damage on that thing? Oh my god. Moroi went up like 50 DPS, but it's like 626. Oh.
Do we have a list of all these?
Updated versions? I'll link it in chat and in the Discord. It's that spreadsheet was very revelatory after seeing the unique nerfs and then compared to the base buffs, because a lot of the base buffs were like 20% up to 30% kind of range for a lot of the buffs.
so many.
So you look at that
numbers.
list, and most items are actually buffed. The only one that really confuses me is like Hegemony's era
Yeah.
getting
Yes.
nerfed for like 30 DPS. That did not deserve that. No one was like not going to craft staves because of Hedgies. I mean, that danger could have eventually happened if they buffed it too much, but I don't know about nerfing it.
Yeah.
All the tool, big. Okay.
It's because Hedgie doesn't play Peter anymore, so
That makes sense. Screw him. We hate him.
They're trying to convince him to come back.
Yeah.
Chris is very spiteful.
Enmity Divine looks kind of interesting. The Harbinger buff you get from that has had its cooldown halved, and you can do things like the Shaper Amulet to increase the duration of it on you. I mean, they lowered the reduced damage on it from 40% to 15, but 15% reduced damage taken is still most of like Fortify.
Speaking about the reduced damage stuff, I'm curious, what do you guys think about the removal, pretty much universally, of reduced damage on the tree?
Didn't they say that they were still considering that?
They should really consider that. I don't think it makes. I feel okay. I've ran about this before. I feel like there is like a person who's doing the top half and the bottom half, because at least from our perspective, right? The builds between like last league with Guardian and Hierophants, and we have Tricksters. That whole area is basically not nerfed. If anything, it's buffed. They buffed the HP, which can be hard to get up there. Like they buffed the little like the HP nodes right next to glancing blows.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, they could use it a little bit. I'm okay with that. Purity of flesh. And then you go down and you're like in this like very congested melee part where you're trying to get value out of it because you kind of can't leave. And then they just removed everything in terms of defense while forcing people into non-shield builds and non-block builds, and with having so much crap being thrown at us these days in terms of just random damage that's so hard to survive. I don't know. It felt super awkward.
The fact that it was all of one type of mechanic, like the reduced damage taken, leads me to believe there has to be some sort of greater reason for this, why they're specifically targeting that.
Yeah, there is. It's called Molten Shell.
What?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much that. I'd much rather get rid of all of those and nerf the fuck out of players and have something more manageable, which is Molten Shell, which honestly shouldn't have stuck around in the way that it is for so long. And now after Vol Molten Shell getting nerfed, Molten Shell is still powerful. I think I don't know. To me, it's fine. And most of the time, those sort of builds that utilize those nodes were casters who like didn't have access to any other form of defense. So it like more benefited shit like necromancers than it really did the melee guys. That's kind of how I see it.
I disagree with that.
You don't think Molten Shell's fucking nuts?
Yes. No, I think everything done to Molten Shell is completely justified. It's just the nodes down there saying that the builds that mostly benefit is like necromancers. I don't know about that. Necromancers just benefit from everything in the game because they don't care. They can just take whatever that's strong. They just take it.
They just don't benefit from damage because they have plenty anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, by necromancer, I don't necessarily mean like summoners, but primarily like corpse builds, which are.
I'm league starting self-cast cremation, and I'm like glancing blows, get all the nice Warcries stuff. Like I'm chilling. I've got sustain, I've got block, I've got everything. So.
Yeah, but that was the thing, right? That a lot of those skill trees, and even for like any type of necromancer, it was just like, well, I could travel 5 points for like grave intentions and get some chaos resistance on my minions, or I could travel 30 and get Soul of Steel. It's like, I feel like something should have been probably done with that, you know?
Well, how about maybe addressing the ascendancies that can justify traveling 30 nodes?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's a fair point. I am very surprised by Necromancer being, because like they were like, oh, we're gonna adjust Necromancer too. I was like, oh shit, it's coming in. And they're like, yeah, so we limited corpse stack to only 200 attack and cast speed. And it's just like,
get wrecked.
Yeah, I was really shocked by that.
Fuck?
I was also really surprised we didn't see any changes to like block recovery or bone offering. So I'm like, oh, bone offering on the tree. They're gonna have to like Dancing with the Tree. They're gonna have to either nerf bone offering or nerf like life or ES on shields. And they didn't touch it at all. It's so weird.
I thought they're just gonna remove the recovery on block and that
Yeah.
would have like done a lot because they were like adding unique shields and stuff, and I was like, this would be a solution. Like it wouldn't fix everything, but I also thought that they're gonna move glancing blows again. I don't know if they're gonna move it. Like I knew that they're probably gonna move it. I did think that they're gonna move it elsewhere than where they did, like further to the left and down. But
Wait,
then
no.
you're like, there's like no good spot, and they did move it, but I think
No.
they're gonna move it again. But like glancing blow, the more I thought about it, the more I'm just like, there's just no place that you can put it. Because like the entire right side is out of the question because it's way too close to anything caster, trickster, and all this.
I mean, shouldn't it
So
just
you
be
have
in
to move it to the
duelist?
left. Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking. That like you have to put it further down towards melee, but then I don't know. I feel like melee
that
gets so
creates
much
issues
stuff
on it.
now
It's just
too.
a problematic node. It's just hard to balance.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think it's in a really weird spot because, like, it's in a rough spot for melee to take.
Yeah.
Like, it's
That's
a
why I was
lot
surprised they moved
easier
it
to
up.
take on casters than it
Yeah.
is to take on melee.
Yeah, like Templar and
Mhm.
Witch casters are loving that spot.
And then,
I mean,
like,
I'd
if
take it
you're
on-
CI Shadow, you can just, like, route over to Zealot's Oath and then large Thread of Hope it, or very large Thread of Hope it.
I
I
take
think-
it on like half my shadow trees.
I think the intent for them was to, and this is weird because again they moved it towards Templar, but I think the intent for them was to buff two-handers and to not affect like one-handers and shields and dual wielding as much, because those builds generally end up being like very tight on points, especially since the strongest one of them for dual wielding were swords anyway, and swords would never travel that far up. But most of the two-handed builds that I've seen and I've tried to make anyway in the past would travel to like devotion, right? So you could somewhat justify glancing blows a lot more. But then how the fuck do you even outside of staves get like a decent amount of block on a two-hand there? So
It's only relevant for staves, I'd say, as far as
Yeah.
two-handed block setups go.
just like
They did
kind of
buff,
justifies the
staff
hegemony.
block
I don't
implicits.
know.
You know, that's nice. I still think that's more impactful for casters, though.
Yeah.
Like I'm probably gonna play a staff caster next league with glancing blows because they buff staff implicits. So I think that's still not really relevant for melee.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't think there's any like good spot. I'm just trying to like figure out what they possibly could have been thinking with this, you know?
Well, just a question before we get into like some of the deeper like ascendancy stuff. Do you think this might maybe be an issue where, like, because this league they focused on like brands, two hands, and Warcries, but that isn't necessarily like all melee. Because I feel like a lot of people are saying, "Oh, nerf melee league." Like I feel like people think about this the same way they thought about like Spellcaster League or like the old melee league. Because this league and the league before, they've kind of just been like, we're just gonna pick random shit and buff it. Like last week was like mana and some. What was the other thing? It was mana and something else.
I love how you described that, by the way. They focused on Warcraft. I'm like, yeah. They focused on two-handers. Yeah. And brands. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But like in the worst way possible. I don't know. They definitely focused on it. I do think that brands are pretty good now.
I think that
Definitely.
Penance Brand could be pretty disgusting. I think
Penance number.
I think
silly.
Penance Brand could be really good. Wintertide, if you can get enough cast speed, will feel great. But I think most people who play Wintertide will have a terrible experience because they won't build it right. And then Armageddon looks like really easy for Ignite. The other brands, I don't know how good they'll be. An Arcanist Brand, I think, will be a massive noob trap.
Arcanist has a 1 second cast time. It makes me very happy.
And it only lasts like 3 seconds on enemies. So
It's so gross. That's gonna feel awful. Like people were saying, you know, Warcries lol, they have a 0.8 second cast time or whatever, and Arcanist has a higher one than that and is your main skill. Admittedly, cast speed is easier to get than Warcry speed, I suppose, but
Arcanist is very dangerous though.
Mm-hmm.
Like how it mechanically functions. So
yeah, true. I mean, I can see why they did it. They're hedging their bets. You know, they don't want it just to be like totems,
Yeah.
but way better, and you can leech off of it and all that sort of stuff, and it can trigger things in combination. But it's going to be a pretty big stumbling block for any Arcanist brand build to get over before it feels good.
isn't the solution to that to just not make it then? Like, is it worth making a skill that's that potentially dangerous that you make it kind of crappy?
Absolutely. Even if they have to mega punish it to allow it into the game, because then people can come up with some weird creative shit. Even if
Yeah.
it's terrible,
Yeah,
people
I
can come
guess
up with
that's
some
fair.
weird
I
creative
guess that's
shit
fair.
that benefits the game.
Well, the thing
Right.
is, it's not that like it needs power. It's just that it limits other things, right? So
Yeah.
totems, like
Traps,
Octavian
mines.
described, and then self-casting, traps, and mines. Like it covers such a wide area that eventually it might end up being a benefit because due to power creep, this will most definitely at some point, might be a year from now or 5 years from now, it will be like a top thing that will like body block all those other archetypes. So at that point, they're going to be buffing those archetypes. So maybe it's going to be a good thing, right? It's kind of
The end of the
similar to
cycle.
totems in the past.
How do we feel about the brand like changes overall? Since we kind of talk about brand stuff.
I really like them in the context of the new brand skills that feel designed around the way brands behave now much more efficiently. Like Wintertide and Penance brand feel like they slot into the new playstyle of brands so much better than Armageddon and Stormbrand do. And Armageddon and Stormbrand feel kind of tacked on and clunky now as far as their design is concerned.
Ooh, I half agree. I think Armageddon brand also fits perfectly, but
Does
Storm brand not as much. Yeah, because with Armageddon brand, you never really played it around recall because it would get you killed. The cast speed on it is like non-existent. You just cast it. It's instantaneous. They lowered the frequency, so they lowered the delay and they increased the AoE. I feel like it's just like you just fucking drop a bomb and that's it. So yeah, when you played it before, because I even played it this league, and yeah, you would barely ever use recall really. So yeah, not that you shouldn't have, but it didn't feel as big of a deal. But there was one thing about brands that they didn't really mention, and I think that might save a lot of people's approach because I think brands are still going to be pretty good, and a lot of people completely like declared them dead. Obviously, that was like before we had the new brands, but they changed one of the clusters. I'm desperately trying to find it
Oh, the
to
Holy
essentially
Conquest
work
one?
like the old brand. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? It was Holy Conquest, right?
Yeah, Holy Conquest, yeah.
Yeah.
You read it out when you
Holy
find
Conquest now. It used to be 10% brand activation frequency, 20% increased damage with brands, and 5% movement speed, which was pretty crappy, especially considering like uh grand design was so strong and pretty much everything like brands for clusters got nerfed. But now the new one has 10% increased cast speed with brands, which is a big deal because brands need a lot of cast speed now. 5% movement speed, which is whatever. But then also brands attached to a new enemy each time they activate, no more than once every 0.3 seconds, which essentially like sort of doubles the amount of hits from your brands before they return to their original spots, which in a way, if you can like cover the pack with that, sort of like recovers that playstyle that I think people were looking for with brands previously. So yeah, I think it could still work pretty okay.
It takes a step back towards it after taking like 5 steps away.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a good way to describe it for sure.
I definitely do think there will be powerful brand builds at endgame. I think I would just stress to people who want to league start brands, I think they'll mostly feel rough early. Like, I really don't think they're going to be something you want to level as, because you need the cast
They need
speed,
clusters.
and they need the clusters. So maybe level as something else and then swap into them at a later point, or just like struggle through for a bit. What do we think about the Hierophant brand like node? Because you said you were talking about maybe doing some brand stuff. How would you build them, Raiz?
Depends. Mostly Trickster.
Yeah, get all the
Because
cast
like
speed.
Trickster and CI just like for dot builds enables so much cluster because you virtually have to not pick up like any energy shield in your skill tree. It's like, oh, 120 energy shield on your skill tree, decent chest piece, decent helmet, decent hybrid shield. Boom, 10k ES and you're immune and you've got like almost cap block and all this crazy stuff. So it just allows you to get so much of that cluster jewel action. But yeah, for the Hierophant specifically, I can see it working for sure, especially if you're stacking like cooldown recovery for your brand recall and other sort of stuff. You're definitely going to have to cast a lot more frequently. But again, that's where the need for cast speed comes into play. And then also with a lot of the brands, mechanically is very powerful. Like you mentioned before, like Wintertide think is insane with cast speed.
I think Hyro with a brand playstyle that really leans into the active playstyle. So like nuking your duration down as much as you can to like 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds or something, and then going Hyro, getting a decent chunk of cast speed and running like Penance Brand and basically just tossing out grenades on every pack that, you know, charge up to 20 in 2 seconds or less. I think that could work really well because the more brand activation frequency in the last, what is it, 25%? Brands of 100% more activation frequency of 75% of duration is expired. So if you nuke the duration down, then you access that more quickly, and you can reach 20 stacks in like a second and a half or something with reasonable cast speed scaling, and that's going to be like more than 1 million average hit with Penance Brand easily.
And the thing is too that like my brain doesn't even work in that way. When I see Penance Brands, I'm just like, this is the best ignite skill in the game.
I'm thinking big lightning hits.
Yeah, but the really big, I think, advantage for a Hierophant for builds like Penance where you don't have like as good of a leech, for instance, is just agnostic. Like agnostic being available is just really, really good for those sort of setups.
Since we're kind of talking about like ascendancy stuff, let's go on to. Do you want to do Chieftain or Zerka first? I feel like Zerka might be the slightly spicier one. Well, we forget. Noogie, how'd you like the new Zerka?
What?
New Zerka ascendancy?
Yeah, Zerka is really good. Well, at least the new node is very good. I think a lot of people just looked at that and thought it was kind of terrible. At least the first time they saw it. But once you start mapping out what you can do with it, it becomes very interesting. And especially, I would say, with you forcing. So the key part here is that the moment that you can force losing rage, it becomes very interesting. And we have something for that, which is Berserk. Because normally you would need to wait like 4 seconds, right, before it would start degenning. But if you can make it like immediately drop below, or like go down, so you can like keep regenning the rage. You can keep like high rage and keeping a very long duration Berserk, and that is very powerful.
I was very surprised. Like, I understand that a lot of people thought that with Warbringer, Berserker lost a lot of its identity, especially since they don't remember how it worked in the first place, because the last time they played it was 2 years ago. But I think people are like severely underestimating fast rage generation. Like, I think that's a pretty big deal with what they've added to the game and what we've paired up with what we've had previously. I think Noogie's point is super strong.
I mean, think about it this way. You go into the map, you go up to a pack. If it's a juicy map, that immediately puts you at 50 rage. 100%, 50 rage, boom. If you have like rage nodes, you know, whatever. Like there's like tons of rage nodes in the tree now. So they're actually added small nodes in the tree as well to fit this play style, which might actually change like Berserker meta a lot because you lose rage slower.
Yep.
I can even give you a perfect example. When Quinn was playing his stun guy, okay, he was like, "Listen, guys, I'm gonna stun him. I just need my rage," and then he would exit the map or die, and he'd use another portal. It's like, give me 5 minutes for me to get my rage, and then I'm gonna stun it. Like, now you're just gonna have it. So if you're one of those people that uses 6 portals for, you know, a shaper kill, really beneficial stuff.
And I think, as well with the node, because I spent a lot of today thinking about it. The idea that, oh, but Berserk is for like fast builds and everything, right? And how do you then have a slow play style? Well, you need this extra speed when you're slow. So when you're going through the map, you need this like Berserk speed. And then you make it so that you go above the 25 and then you dump the rage for the big exerts. And you come in with like the big bonks.
Like,
and the boss is gone.
Like, Warbringer is also good for fast builds.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it isn't a slow build node. It doesn't do anything that, you know, favors a slow attack over a fast attack. Exerting an attack is good if you are attacking quickly or if you're attacking slowly. Like, it's arguably...
Well, it is because there are tools to make it work well with even fast attacking builds, I would say. If those hadn't been there, it would have been not as impactful.
But Warbringer, like, I don't know. It's just generically good.
Hmm.
Sure.
Like I don't think it leans towards a particular play style in that way. It's just good. Rage is just good. Berserk is just good.
For me,
I think
anyway.
it's really awkward. Just to end, I do think it's like really awkward with some of the other nodes though on the tree.
Yeah.
Like with the Blitz is weird, and if you pair it with Rite of Ruin and you're constantly sitting like in the middle and never really benefiting, that whole thing becomes really awkward. And not having reliable like stun immunity. There's just something there that doesn't mix well.
That's
when like you think about it.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like I can see how that node's really good, and I can see how 40% more damage is really good. So like, okay, you take these two, but it's then like, and then where do I send my remaining 4? Like that's the thing that I seem to struggle with, because there isn't enough points on the tree to do Warcry and crit stuff with two-hand realistically and have more than like 90% life, unless you had a really specific setup. And then, as you say yourself, the first Rage 2-pointer, you don't need 1 Rage per hit when you can just press a button to get like full Rage, so that doesn't do anything. And then the next one is if you only get the stun immunity if you're above 25, but you kind of always want to be like juggling like up and down. So it feels like Rite of Rune should maybe be like a 2-pointer and then it had another 2-pointer added. I don't know, it just feels like it's fighting itself.
I don't see why you would need more than 90% life. Just click Vol Molten Shell, dude.
Okay.
There's no problems there.
I think
Yep, go ahead.
Tell me what you think first, Raiz.
Oh, I just think they should have released Berserk like now instead of before. And then people would have been like, holy shit, I do 20% more attack speed, 20% more damage, 20%, 30% more movement speed, and I take 20% less damage. Especially now, we're taking less damage is such a big deal. People would have been like, oh my god, it's gonna be crazy. But since it's been in the game, people just forget about it.
Maybe they should have just renamed it just so it could be at the top of the patch notes.
Red Blade banner looks interesting
cool.
now with that
Infinite
setup
power.
too. Yeah. So any shout if you're below 20 rage puts you at your capped rage, if I understand that right.
Yeah.
Just call Berserk like creeping rage or something like that, and then people will like pay attention to it again.
What were you gonna say, Ziggy?
I agree a lot with what Noogie said about the new Berserker node. When I first saw it, I was sad. Then I was like, oh yeah, that's some pretty interesting niche potential here. I think less people will use the new node than used the previous node, and not many people used the previous node. So I don't know, if the objective of a node is to be used, then it might not be meeting its objective very well. I do like that I don't have to be Berserker to make a Warcry build, and that I probably shouldn't be Berserker if I'm making a Warcry build, or at least not taking that node.
I think that there's 2 objectives to a node.
You don't want to use your Warcry, man.
One is to be used and one is to be interesting. And this one is interesting, like in my opinion. It might not be used a ton, but it's interesting.
I'd agree with that.
Like I kind of honestly, there's a node that a lot of people rag on, which is the Masterful Form one from Slayer, that your max frenzy charges or your endurance charges equal to your max frenzies. That barely ever gets taken, but I think it's kind of interesting. So I don't really mind it that much. I could see it getting a bit of a buff, maybe some numerical thing thrown in, but just like as an example, I think it's okay if there's a node that's niche. As long as it's
I think, just to say on that note, I think people will start using it at some point soon because of Enduring Cry. Because now there is a much larger upside to having like all these endurance charges while being a build that goes to the right side, where you could say, let's say you pick up Wind Dancer or something on a Slayer, and you're like, you're building this like evasion dodge Slayer, but then you get full endurance charges as well, plus the Enduring Cry that just super juices them.
Enduring Cry's OP. I'm really surprised that it heals as much as it does.
Yeah, for people sad about losing the heal on the Berserker Warcry.
Yeah, you're kind of
Enduring Cry. It's the same. It's a 2,000 health heal. Like you probably had low enough health anyways that 2,000 is more than what you were getting before.
I mean, yeah, if you've got the 9% life build, that's a full heal in one button, literally.
I was gonna say
full heal.
See, I was skeptical about it. I was like, I don't know if it's gonna feel like, it depends what they add on the skill tree, and then like they added all the paths. I'm just like, okay, yeah. And you can scale with the ratios. Just like, what the fuck? Like this thing's insane.
Also, I think
Doing
the
great
thing that a
stuff.
lot of people don't realize about it is because of the way the buff works, it kind of gives you Slayer Leech. Because if you go to full and you get hit again, it's still active for its full duration, so it will keep healing you. It doesn't turn off when you get to full HP. It's not like a life flask. So it's really strong. Yeah, full duration. I'm looking to get near 100% uptime on it on my build. That's the one thing which I find quite interesting. So for my cremation build, I get the Warcry cluster that buffs you, like you increase damage for your Warcry recently, and I get the natural authority one which debuffs enemies. And there's this real genuine thought process of, do I get the instant keynote, just have it on left click, so it's just automated burst healing? Or do I keep it with a cast time, but then with second have 2 charges, so I have 100% uptime? So it's, would I rather have it be instant, I don't need to think about it, and it's up like 50%, 60% of the time? Or do I want it to be like up all of the time, but I'm more vulnerable and I've got to like press more buttons, you know?
I'm lazy.
You may want to
go with halftime. Go ahead, Ziggy.
You may want to obtain the critical information, Tarke, that the heal only lasts 1 second. And I don't even know that you can necessarily scale it. If it does scale, it scales independently of the duration of the Warcry of the Enduring Cry buff. Because it's 2 seconds, but
Did they
that's for the
confirm
endurance
that?
charge.
Have they?
I think Mark has confirmed it. Someone said at least. I would like to see the
Fuck, there's
the
a quote.
actual quote. Someone
The
has
wording on Enduring Cry let me believe there is no way to scale the healing part and that only the resistance reduction part scales with the skill cooldown. That is correct, says Mark. It uses the same mechanic as Life Sprig. The life regen is a fixed amount over 1 second unrelated to the buff Enduring Cry also.
Yeah.
Grant. Well then,
Figured that'd be the case.
I
It's
hate
still
Enduring
good.
Cry now.
It's still good, but yeah. It's
It's
less,
really good from a
it's less
second wind
broken.
and low cooldown setup.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, it's still better than a life flask.
Think about it
Yeah.
this way: like, what is regen? You know, like sometimes you think that regen, if it doesn't apply all the time, it's not good. But we've had the Guardian one before, and the moment you have enough EHP and you have a buffer, having that thing just top you up every 5 seconds can be more than enough. So you're basically getting on a 1 active gem, you're getting like the Guardian Ascendancy in terms of total amount healed for like any non like ES build.
Does the heal
Which is
have
kind of
a-
nuts.
Does the heal trigger even if there like aren't enemies nearby? Because it would be incredibly
Yep.
good for
Yeah.
lab traps if that's the
Yeah.
case.
You
Like,
just
that's
press
it.
really
Insane.
good for lab.
You force it. It's a life flask with no charges, but a cooldown.
I don't know if people even thought that like the previous Warbringer is going to stay. Like I don't even know
no.
how you could have like possibly considered that.
I thought
like, it
people
would've
thought
become
that it
the
would be like
ultimate
nerfed.
meld.
I don't think they thought it would stay at full power. I was kind of expecting they were gonna like have just like the cooldown, or like maybe they'll have just faster Warcries or something.
I think that's
I
just
do-
like because of the way Warcries work, right? Like it wasn't, at least to me, it wasn't like immediately apparent that its intended design is for you to like use multiple Warcries rather than focus on one, right? Because that's what we've had all along. And then eventually they like more cleared it up to me, and so it like makes even more sense that it wouldn't be the way it used to.
Moving on to Chieftain for a bit. The more I think about the Chieftain, the less I like it. Because the upgraded Chieftain thing, so that's the one where it copies your slam every 2 seconds. And someone sent me a thing earlier from Mark confirming that doesn't work with Exert or like Fist of War or anything like that. So you can't like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. So it says it. I'm particularly upset about that because I'm making a chieftain and trying to go for the Giga Bonks, and it says that it mirrors your attack. That's the wording for what it's supposed to do. Is that the foe's chosen mirror thing mirrors your attack, but it doesn't mirror your attack if it's not mirroring the Exert or the Fist of War procs. So I'm making an Exert stacking Fist of War procking fucking chieftain where I was trying to mirror my attacks. I was trying to get Giga Bonks and then have 2 Giga Bonks at once because it's mirroring my Giga Bonk, but It's not mirroring if it's not the same, is it?
Can I
one of
introduce
those,
you
like,
to my good friend Juggernaut or Gladiator?
I'm probably still gonna go Chieftain.
Berserker.
What about my boy Slayer?
I'm like almost there. I'm like almost considering changing it up and remaking it a bit. But I love the look of New Tectonic alongside of Abyss. What is it? Infernal Cry now as well.
Mm.
On top of all the other Warcry stuff.
Infernal Crow's cool.
So
Right.
Cheatham is a very good ascendant still, even if you
yeah.
can't take use of that one.
And I mean, even
For
if it's
sure.
not mirroring that stuff, still like copying your attack is still kind of nice. I'm wondering if it's like just overlays it on top of your attack, or whether it
it like
appears
a
somewhere and
mirage?
targets mobs.
Isn't it like another Mirage thing that comes out and does it for
That's
you?
what I
Or
thought,
is it-
yeah.
It sounds a bit like that, so maybe it actually, maybe it like even runs to a pack and then uses your Tectonic or whatever on them.
That's
would
exactly
say-
what I was hoping. Because then you would come in and one-shot a pack, and then you would have like this mirror that would run to the next one.
Hit the stragglers.
I mean, that'd be pretty sweet.
I was thinking, yeah, it's more like the Essence of Contempt, where it's like a separate thing,
Yep,
and it
That's
just
what I was gonna say.
good stuff.
How does that work?
It's the floaty guy that spawns on some essences that'll follow you around and bonk you occasionally.
Oh.
I don't know of another way to describe it.
But Essence of Contempt,
Dude.
dude.
So he would just follow you, and he would then, whenever
I
you
don't
would do
know.
your thing, he would then randomly do it somewhere as well.
I was just
maybe.
describing it.
Okay.
I don't know what
Oh,
Ryan
I
was
see.
saying.
Okay,
You're
okay.
confusing him.
Yeah.
I thought you're like
Okay,
putting
then.
essence or contempt on something, and you gained a
No.
buff on like a pair of
No.
crafted gloves.
No.
Oh, no.
Harvest crafting probably isn't that insane.
No.
I think
Okay,
one thing you do need to
okay.
be careful with that is because it's on a 2-second cooldown, it's kind of like cast on crit. You need to make sure your like attack speed's all right, so you don't cheese yourself out of procs.
See, that's the thing that I was surprised about with Fist of War, because Ziggy seems really excited about it. I wasn't in particular, and I kind of talked about that earlier. But then they announced Shockwave, and I'm like, why don't you just do Fist of War like you're doing Shockwave? Like
I do like the Shockwave one; it's really good. The Shockwave
Yeah.
rework is mint, and I'm considering maybe seeing whether that's worth using as well. But yeah, no, that Shockwave change is good. I agree. Fist of War probably could benefit from like maybe just one extra charge or something like that to help balance it out. Like maybe the 4 charges or whatever that Shockwave has. So if you don't know, the Shockwave change, what it does now is it has like 4 max charges. So every time you use an attack, it consumes one of the charge, and then each 1 second it restores a charge. So that means you can run around going bonk, run bonk, and it's kind of just restoring itself like normal, and that would be fine. But now you can like get to a boss or a rare or something, and then unleash 4 bonks, and each one of them has the shockwave proc. So it's not kind of like
Which is-
wasted.
Which is also buffed, so it's 260% base weapon damage, which like even
Oh,
if
so much
you're
damage.
not even like getting the extra, it's just like a massive actual support gem. Like even
Yeah.
before for most builds it was like 40 to 50% more damage support. Like now it's even better because it's 210 before. So,
Raiz, all
love it.
day chat's been saying ask Raiz about Static Strike.
fucking hell. I hate what they did with Static Strike, man. I was so excited. I was so happy. I was like, when they said that they're going to be juicing up Static Strike, I was like, oh, yeah, dude. My league started because I've been dreaming about league starting with Static Strike
Same.
ever since they changed it. I was so excited. I was like, man, there's no way that I can race to 100 with like a melee skill. Not that it's like a lot worse, but you know, even 5 to 10% speed like makes a big difference, right? If you're comparing it to like VD or Essence Drain or something like that. But I'm like, with Static Strike, I can maybe actually do it. And then they announced it, and it's just like by reducing the duration, they've completely like ruined the identity of the skill. And then the worst part is that it's in favor of like a minimal single target DPS increase. It's just like, why would you do this?
I saw a Reddit post from, I think it was Mark, might have been a different GGG employee. I was browsing through the GGG tracker thing. Evidently, the change was made because Static Strike was absolutely OP with exerted attacks because it would snapshot the exert for the full duration of the Static Strike. So they had to
Shockwave.
change it to
I
work
can
around that.
imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine with Shockwave it would be crazy too. But that's what I want, dude. Give me a melee skill that I can compete to 100 with, dude. That would have been brilliant.
I mean, you basically want a static strike where you can run through the map and it'll keep zapping things with 500% more damage and shockwaves proccing on every single zap. That's basically what you
Sounds
want.
perfectly reasonable to me.
I don't see a problem. They didn't nerf
that.
VD Necromancer. At least this is melee. It would have like fitted the patch for once.
That is one thing. I know that you spoke about this quite a lot yesterday with Ziz and Steel Mage Niggy, but how do we feel about the fact that they're not purposely... It seems like they're trying to make the slam thing good, but not too good. Do we prefer the approach where they try and keep things kind of balanced, or where it's like, new league, this is the fucking meta, you will play it? Because we had that for a while, where it's like, whatever the new stuff was will be ridiculously broken. Which do we prefer, generally?
Well, I think we're underestimating the power of this new stuff. I think that's where I want to start with this. I think people are underestimating a lot of like how powerful some of this stuff will be once we figure out like the right combos, and even just the normal builds that already exist. I mean, you just take like instant Warcry and slap that on there, and it's just kind of like every now and like you'll have like the 5 attacks during your normal like mapping thing, and you'll just do like double damage, double damage, double damage, double damage. I guess that's a lot.
The problem
Plus
is
the
that
buff to two-handers and everything.
people are judging this from like a league start perspective, right? Where they want like their best possible league start. But like that's just not melee. It's it has been like that a very long time ago where the gap was ginormous. And melee generally just has such a much larger opportunity of scaling everything. So with greater investment, it'll just go through the roof. But if you're comparing it to, like a caster league starter, for most people, especially the less experienced you are, the more powerful casters will be. So I agree with Noogie. I think these have the potential to be like top tier builds, just not, 0 tier builds, right?
I think in the context of what we generally think of a 100 push, it can seem that they are, that they're being a little bit conservative in buffing things. But what I don't have a full picture of how this would impact softcore, for instance, and that player base. Because like is VD Spellsinger like the top tier there? I feel like VD Spellsinger is like a little low damage compared to people going miners and even like more glass cannon melee builds that I've seen quite a bit. Like, but I'm sure people go like dual wield a lot as well, like even early on.
VD is fucking slow, okay, compared to like what a lot of people want to do. I don't know. Everybody's screaming themselves. It's a great build and everything.
Yeah.
But I think you can make much faster builds. And I think for softcore guys, they won't be playing as many VD builds. I think it's comparable, actually. I think maybe even the two-handers are going to be faster than VD. It's not necessarily going to be like as well-rounded, but similar speed or faster. VD just has such a hard mechanical cap. Like you can't ever go beyond that. You can't increase the ball's speed. You can get more balls, but that doesn't speed anything up, right? Realistically, you can increase your DPS, but on a good build, you have enough DPS to cover everything anyway. I don't know. To me, this makes sense.
What do you think
I
about...
will say though, just quickly, I will say that the points that they were making yesterday and probably you're making today is like that they're so afraid of allowing like melee to be strong for a change, and feeling that we come in it being strong. And yeah, definitely that hasn't been a playstyle that like any attack skill generally has never felt like it's come in. I think about it. Legion was actually pretty good with the Cyclone.
I mean, Bladestorm was really good. It was just everything was overshadowed by Cyclone. Sorry,
Bladestorm was bugged to all.
It was bugged for like a month.
Yeah.
Something like Sweep had some weird like accuracy issues too. Those are strong skills that would like cover the whole screen, but yeah.
It's a real shame they didn't give anything to Sweep though. That was a bit sad.
I feel like I have a bit of selective memory when it comes to the melee, because also like Blade Flurry when it first came out was insane.
Yep.
I mean, Blade Flurry invented the blade meme. If a skill has blade in it, it's good. Like, that was from Blade Flurry, really.
Yeah, but that was also on the old way AoE scaled, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. That's why I was like,
That was a while ago now.
yeah.
For me personally, I actually prefer the system where they're slightly more conservative, and I do genuinely think slams will be good. I think there'll be, it's like what I was kind of saying with brands, I think there'll be a lot of people who start it and they build it slightly wrong and have a really bad experience, but if they did it as like a second build after someone made like a guide and they had some gear, I think they'll be absolutely set. I've never been a big fan of the forced meta shift every 3 months, especially when it's kind of like, okay, this thing will be broken, then we destroy it the next. I always hated that because I'm one of those players who's often kind of like, I have my cozy build, I like playing my cozy build, and then I get more experimental towards the end of the league, and I will never forgive myself for missing out on Dark Pact. Because like, yo, Dark Pact looks so good, I'll play that next league. And I never got to Dark Pact because they destroyed it.
I mean, the AoE is crap and the damage is worse, but with Agnostic on the tree, there are means to do Dark Pact now.
It's not what it was. But anyone who
No,
missed it, it
no.
was when it had the old Vol Pact and you'd press it and
Yeah.
like boom, boom, and you destroy everything. And I was watching that all
I
league like,
did
oh,
play
this is
that.
going to be so good.
It
I'm
was
100%
glorious.
playing this next league. And then like, and we killed it. I was like,
I did play Berserker Instant Leech Dark Pact, whatever it was back then. You did miss out, Tarke. It was
I know.
amazing.
I'm so sad.
It was one of the most fun things I'd played in a long time because it was like my health bar was like it was so good.
I actually played it thanks to Noogie, because Noogie was talking about the Dark Pact Slayer, like
Slayer?
master.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
So-
did that. That was really fun.
If you want to feel like you're playing old Dark Pact with the health bar jumping around, just, edit your mana bar so that it's red and play Archmage. And there you go. And now you got a bar jumping around.
Exactly the same.
True. What do you guys think about Archmage? Like, did they
It deserved the
fucking
nerfs.
ruin it?
I think you can still make it like more than functional and justifiable, but it's not as build defining. Like
Yeah.
Archmage is closer to, I guess, Shockwave as a support now, where it's a thing you put into a build that has synergies with Archmage. You're no longer playing an Archmage build. You're playing a build that has synergies with Archmage, and so you use Archmage.
It was kind of crazy that a single support gem was like the entire build's identity. That's kind of where it was at before. And now I'm like making a mind over matter character. I'm like, do I use Archmage? No, maybe not for this one. I still think it's probably one of the like highest DPS supports in the game in many cases. But it is interesting that they nerfed it in every way possible. The classic meme. Everything they could have nerfed, they nerfed.
Yeah, the Fever Mine was especially interesting. The way they when I initially read it, I was like, oh, you can still put it in good spots, but then I realized that it converts the notables. And that's just like, ooh. I was willing to spend 20 points on like 80% mana cost and like 160 spell damage. That sounds pretty good. But then it converts everything, and I'm spending 20 points. It's like, or 30 even. It's just, it's kind of rough.
I hope it's a playstyle they saw the potential of it now, and now they can see like what can be done with it and where it's abusive and not. So I hope they're going to support it over time from now
One
on.
change from the Archmage change that I really like is that they changed a few of the items that used to have percent increased mana cost to have flat additional mana cost, which for Archmage is not very good, but for Stormbind is really cool. Those pair of gloves that give plus 80 flat mana cost are so good for scaling Stormbind now. It's really cool. I want to play it.
You want to play
already
Stormbind? Are you sure about that one?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Maybe not as a first.
There is one more where this is actually really good. You know the helmet? Kitava's Thirst?
Yeah. And that got buffed.
Yeah.
It's up to 50% proc right now.
50% proc rate.
Oh.
And it's like a really low, what's it called? Internal cooldown.
Yeah.
So you can really spam some spells.
Yeah,
It's just really hard to like hit that right mana cost.
And my second build of the league is actually going to be a Arcane Cloak Scion Mind Over Matter Trapper. And that's one thing that I'm quite excited to play because I was really bummed out that Archmage didn't work with like traps and totems and all that stuff. So I was like, and it didn't seem worth doing. But now Arcane Cloak is a really cool and really powerful skill. I feel like that can shine a lot more now that they've kind of slapped Archmage about. So I'm looking forward to playing that later in the league, but it needs Like, I need Cloak of Defiance so I can, like, skip half of the trees. There's no way I would league start it, but I'm looking forward to play that eventually. But,
Would you still make it over to Dynamo?
yeah, so I go Scion, I route down through the Resist, I pick up the Mana Nodes, Scion Life, Agnostic Dynamo, then I jump to
Right.
Pathfinder, pick up Pathfinder Flask Nodes, pick up Wind Dance, Acro, Phase Acro, come along the top of Shadow getting all the Trap Nodes, and then my build's like, finished.
I like it.
That got buffed with Lightning Trap getting added effectiveness.
Yeah,
right?
because Lightning Trap's now 175%. Yeah, basically, anyone who knows Akane, A-K-A-N-E, he only plays Agnostic Mind of Matter Miners. It's a really similar tree to that, but traps. Yeah.
Do you know how much mana he gets on those builds?
A lot.
8,000-ish, I think I've seen.
Yeah. The thing which makes his build really cool is the way that Indigon interacts with mines, because mines are a reservation cost. He can where Indigon, it doesn't fuck up his mana cost, but he gets like the healing from it. So he's got agnostic healing with the enduring mana flask that heals that, so he just gets like crazy sustain going on. So it's pretty interesting. So one thing that I wanted to do was for everyone to kind of do some build discussion, but before we get into that, was there any other like big things from the patch notes that we want to talk about?
Like a billion? The patch notes were freaking massive.
Right, Ziggy, list them. Let's go. Come on, let's go, boy.
Dude, it's too much. Oh my god. I was like, people,
one.
Ziggy, can you make a 3-minute summary video on again? And I'm like, oh my god, I don't think I can make a 30-minute summary video.
So just to summarize, there isn't actually anything you want to talk about from the patch notes.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Pick
At
your
least have,
favorite
like,
one.
Pardon? My
Pick your
favorite
one.
Just bonk.
Bonk. The Warcries are super pushed. I don't know. There's too much stuff, dude. You put me on the spot here. Oh my god, it's too much things. There were like 1,000 words more than last patch, and that was without any of the passives listed out. Before they listed out passives when they changed them, so all of the passives are gone. That's like several thousand words of stuff there. Fuck, I was so exhausted the other day reading through these patch notes and discussing them. Oh my god. But no, we can move on. There's nothing else. Literally nothing else happened.
Well, thank you for that interjection then. So we'll go back to you, keep you on the spot. So you're gonna be like bonking. So what else would you recommend to people other than the bonk?
Yeah, what do you want? You want what we're playing,
What you're playing, what you
recommend,
recommend, what you'd avoid.
and what we'd avoid. So I love the way you presented this topic as well. The idea that firstly, list what you're playing. Now tell people what you actually think people should play. Which is that's good. I like that. You just presume we're playing shit builds. I love it. So my shit build is gonna be well, you've got me thinking about I might explore like some Jug and Berserker stuff, but basically Mega Bonks, or more accurately, Mega Bonk. That might have been a little bit loud, but I'm focusing on the Warcry stuff because the Warcries are super pushed. So let me open up my Path of Building notes. I have some notes here. It's in all caps. It says Infernal Cry, Seismic Cry, Bonk, Bonk, Intimidating Cry, Big Bonk, Mega Bonk, Giga Bonk. That's the
guide.
build.
Yeah.
That's the guide.
If they're still not dead after all that, little sad bonk.
Sad bonk. No, but so the Infernal Cry things like specifically fire, mega clear speed kind of makes up for the slow two-hander stuff. But the main concept here is stacking Warcries, stacking the extra exert. Seismic Cry gives you, I think it's 5 exerts, and each subsequent. Pardon? Yeah, with the node, it's 4 by default. Yeah. Each subsequent exerted attack is another 30% more damage and 30% increased area of effect. So adding an extra exert adds an extra one that's a 30% on top of all the previous amounts. So you're getting quite a bit out of that. And then Intimidating Cry with the node is 3 exerts for guaranteed double damage. So you can tack on the last 3 of those Seismic Cries. And if you get enough cooldown, you can probably just have it up 100% of the time anyway. Effectively, it's like 500% more damage and several 100% increased AoE on the last hit there. That's pretty seems like it's gonna be pretty satisfying. I'm gonna see a lot of clips of people like one-shotting phases of bosses and things like that for sure. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
You need to work in the flask buttons that you press. You need to work in swapping stances and placing your banner and placing your Ancestral Protector and your Ancestral War Chief totem with Ancestral War Chief. All Ancestral War Chief.
None of that. None of that.
What?
Fuck all that.
You're not going double banner chest, Ziggy? Everyone knows you go double banner chest, Warcry build.
We just get a big stick and we shout and then we whack things, dude. You're getting way too complex with this. Just cut it all. Cut all that. That's the best thing about this.
Phase run too.
Just cut all that.
Phase run is the most important one, right before the 5th bonk.
Okay, all right. Phase run, maybe I'll allow for that.
The stealth bonk.
It increases the bonk size. I might actually agree with that. I'm pretty sure. Did the totems, ancestral totems, consume your exerts? I feel like
slams,
they do.
Yeah, it's Ancestral War Chief is a slam. Ancestral Protector isn't though. You need that for the faster bonk, right?
More bonks per second.
No, because that'll consume your intimidating bonk or whatever it is, the double damage.
Oh, true.
So we don't
banner and stance swap.
So we don't do any of that. I love the fact that I can just be like, no, I'm sick of totems. No more totems. I'm not going to put a totem in every single melee build I do. I'm sick of placing totems and having them die in boss fights. None of that. We just get a big stick, we shout, and we whack. Maybe we pop phase run, so we whack a little bit harder, but.
I'm looking forward to the Bonk Discord starting. Anyone who plays like MMOs, they've got the class Discord, so people talk through their opening rotations. It's gonna be like the Berserker Discord. It's like, okay, so you need to pre-pot throwing the fight, you do your 3 bonks, then you need to time it so that you have got the net set of bonks up before the invulnerability phase. Like, I like how there will be ways to like properly go full MMO on this. Yeah.
I can finally do my napkin rotation again. It's been many years.
It's good, man. Like, it's much more dynamic and interesting gameplay, I think, potentially here than in the past, where we just hold right click. Maybe throw down a totem before the boss. Like, yeah, you can set up an optimal rotation, but the game never really allows you to execute those plans 100% of the time. So most of the time, you're actually going to be like doing these things as they make sense based on the situation, on how they feel. Like, if you need an extra slam right then, you're not going to stop to do your Warcries, but maybe you'll use Seismic Cry because it knocks things back and interrupts them. And you're like, oh, sick. And that buys you space to then do your other thing that you want to do. And then, you know, it creates, I think, a much more interesting gameplay overall. So I'm very, very excited about the GIGA Bonks. But yeah, I'm gonna do Tectonic with the Infernal Cry as well, because it scales with attack scaling for the most part. It's a skill that covers enemies in ash, creates an explosion on death that is fire rather than chaos
and there's
damage,
the combustion
so it's much
thing
easier to
also.
scale. And then it has combust explosions on top of that, which scale with your attack scaling stuff. Also, it seems like you can scale the damage up with this with supports as well. So, like, that's a lot of explosions. And the biggest weakness of, like, two-hander is, like, missing a monster. Oh, God, I have to spend 1.5 seconds attacking that one monster that I missed. It's like, they got, like, a billion overlapping explosions with mega AoE and tons of damage. It's like, yeah, everything will die. So that helps a lot. I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah.
Are we sure that it doesn't work with Ancestral Warcry? Because if that consumed it, it would mean that you buff the totem. That can't be right.
I think the totem uses up the hits. So every time the totem attacks, it like uses a charge.
But that's not you attacking though.
Yeah, but totems like inherit you and all that bullshit. I'm pretty sure.
They don't reflect you. Do you do that?
They inherit your.
Oh yeah, they do.
They
do,
offensive stats. Yeah.
Like they can't get their own frenzies because they use yours, for instance. That sort of thing.
You are the totem, Noogie. You look in the mirror, you see totem.
I'm not convinced here that this mechanic is 100% set in stone. I need Mark on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Call him, Tarke.
On that note, though, it's weird that they opted for exerts not working with repeating skills. So multi-strike skills, it just does not function. You can't use it with multi-strike skills. I think that's weird, man. Why didn't they make it so it's either it consumes an exert charge per repeated attack?
Yeah.
I feel like that would make much more sense. It still would be bad, but it wouldn't like be completely screwed, because like one of the Warcries is Ancestral Cry. which gives you strike skills, hit other targets. What is the support you use with your strike skills? Well, probably multi-strike in 90% of cases. Also,
Okay,
is dual
Mr.
strike double strike a repeated skill? Does that mean Ancestral Cry doesn't work with double strike?
We can't have old Static Strike with 500% more damage, but we can have Awakened Multi Strike with Exert. It's like, okay, dude, I don't know.
Maybe just make it consume the charges, or make it only work for the first hit or something. I don't know.
Have you guys worked
Weird that it
out
doesn't work.
what the fastest cast speed you can get a Warcry down to?
No.
I'm guessing around.
You'd be a Deadeye for animation speed scaling.
Ooh.
Practical 0.3.
Noogie's like, whoa.
How bad?
It's
I
got
need
50%
my
AoE on
Warcry
it too,
speed,
Niggy.
Oh yeah. No, I'm just getting a tailwind boot. Wait, do I need to crit for tailwind boots? Fuck.
Yes, you do.
He's going Blitz Zerker, boys. Confirmed Blitz
There's no way
Zerker.
Reverse chill. Reverse
It's
chill with that
impossible.
one prophecy ring for animation speed scaling.
Oh no, really? Oh.
Make yourself hot so you shout better.
Chill, reverse chill, but then there's like reduced chill effect on you now as well.
That would be
100%
bad though, because
no
you want increased chill effect because it reduces the effect of the it inverses the effect of the chill. So you want more impactful chills, right?
Yeah.
If I remember the
Yeah,
item
no,
correctly.
that's right.
It's like a
Also,
reverse
Ziggy,
zone
this
kill.
is again why I said, like, what are you playing? And then what do you recommend?
Oh.
Because I love that Niggy's like, okay, guys, what you want to do? You want to do the self, chill, crit, tailwind boot?
No,
Okay,
that
no,
was
the-
very glowy brain of you to ask what we actually recommend after what we're playing. So I guess on that topic, my recommendation is the package, I guess, of Hierophant, which has a lot of mana stuff and a little bit of a Mind of a Matter effect and all of that. Glancing Blows, which is right next to some very nice shield nodes, also fantastic shield nodes for League Starter. Which is only a couple nodes away from the Agnostic, which sacrifices mana to recover your life, which is literally attached to the node Dynamo, which gives you a ton of mana, and then recover mana when you use a guard skill, which is right on the Scion Life Wheel, by the way. It's literally the same node that connects to the Scion Life Wheel. So you can get very easily, like I put in a shield with like 3% added block on it or something, and very easily get pretty close to cap block with the 50% glancing blow, so halving your damage, and then Mind Over Matter 40% to like it kind of half the damage you're taking again with mega recovery, and it's just like so easy. That's such an easy package of things, and you can build this into Archmage stuff, or you can build this into brands. The particular build that I made for my partner was Penance Brand Hierophant, so you can play around with the little brand stuff in there as well. I think that's gonna be really good as well. But just this package of Glancing Blows, the Mind Over Matter, the Agnostic, the mana recovery, even just one node off of the Scion Life Wheel is Battle Rouse, which is kind of neat with this as well. 10% of the damage you take is gained as mana when hit. So it's like tons of mana recovery, tons of life recovery, tons of mitigation, splitting of damage, the way the recovery works, balancing out that split damage that you're taking. It's going to be, it's probably going to be tankier than a lot of like melee setups, probably.
You just run Enduring Cry in that, and you run a guard skill with Dynamo, and you have a 2-button combo that if you press, you recover 20% of your mana and like 2,000 health.
Yep.
That's really goddamn good.
Yep.
I can share some Path of Buildings, but these are, just highly experimental theoretical builds, aka they're garbage. I'll put them in chat for you guys who are curious.
Like, as broken as Glancing Blows is, I think Agnostic being on the tree is the biggest deal, because previously Agnostic was so awkward to use because of the way the Time Astral like bricked parts of your skill tree. Just getting Agnostic on the tree next to Scion Life, like, that's good. That's really good. Noogie's got
It
his
also
thinking
means you can
face.
use them together without
Yeah.
like both Glancing Blows and Agnostic, like the combo of
And
other
Divine
Time
Flesh,
Skills.
if you want to.
Oi. That's
I'm kind of surprised they didn't nerf Divine Flesh, because it's a case of like, you go like Wind Dancer, Acro, Phase Acro, Kintsugi, Divine Flesh build. Like that was my other
They-
league starter. So
They buffed it slightly for trees on the right hand side.
Yeah,
like
it's extra.
chaos dot trees on the right hand side because they added plus max chaos res
Yeah.
on the tree.
And you still keep it on the cluster jewels too. You
Yep.
didn't remove it from.
Good. Good.
Yep.
How am I going to survive on my berserker without it?
I mean, that still won't give you fizz mitigation.
Oh, I
You're
have
gonna
plenty
need
of
some
that. That's no
All right,
problem.
there you go.
Yep. All I just need the Ellie.
So what was your build to avoid then?
Avoid Arcanist Brand unless you've come up with a very specific use case for it. Probably avoid it as the first character. Though be accepting of the fact that someone will post a video on Reddit a few days in the league and be like, look at this crazy Arcanist Brand thing I figured out. And you'll be like, damn it, I could have figured that out, but you probably wouldn't have figured that out. So I will say like maybe like Firestorm or something's really good with it because it's got that built-in reduced AoE and that is actually like a little bit of an upside there. Yeah,
No,
rip eyes.
Stop.
No.
No,
But listen, and then Arcanist Brand counters
yeah.
the reduced AoE by the fact that you've got several firestorms happening directly on packs. A lot of
we
packs
get
are
it,
following the
Ziggy.
packs around.
I
You're
like what-
doubling down on your avoid point.
Yeah,
We get
yeah,
it,
guys, don't play this build. This would be really great with Firestorm, by the way. Just throwing it out there.
Yes.
Do not play this Firestorm.
Pay attention to the first thing I said, which was avoid the Arcanist Brand. Yes.
To be fair,
Unless-
Firestorm Unleashed with the buff should be pretty okay, and you can get more Unleashed
They
now
they
and
buffed
everything.
Whispering Ice by a pretty big DPS margin with the damage effectiveness going up.
There you go.
And Whispering Ice was already like more than capable enough last league.
Yep.
I don't know about as a starter necessarily, but like Whispering Ice could do 100%.
Don't
delirious
play
cheese
this
things.
build, please. Anyone watching this, because we'll just get a really angry message. I watched the last Baeclast and I wasn't paying attention. You said play Ice Storm,
They-
Arcanist Brand.
They did nerf the top end of Whispering Ice a little bit since last league because split personalities got limited to 2, but Whispering Ice was more than powerful enough before split personality even existed. So being able to have 2 of them is still more than good enough.
Oh, can we talk about that briefly? Why the hell did they limit split personality but not voices? That makes zero sense to me.
Availability, maybe.
Like, I just,
I mean, today I got invited into a group of people who were running 4 one-socket split personality, socketed only with towering something to increase character size. These characters were enormous.
Oh, voices, you mean?
Yes, voices.
Yeah.
With 23 towering jewels and all the MTX. So I mean, maybe there's been some underhanded stuff going on, so like keep that in play.
Ah, so you're saying like they're billboards. They can't nerf the billboards. No.
It's probably like 1/3 of a size of a Headhunter character anyway, so.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, they don't get off the screen just yet.
Okay, who wants to go next
know.
with playing Recommend Avoid?
Raiz
Why don't
wants
you
to
go, Tarke?
No.
Tarke should go. He's
Okay.
been letting everybody
Okay,
talk, you know.
So I'm going with my cremation thing, which is slightly less cool now that Enduring Cry isn't exactly as broken as I thought, but it's still going to be really good. And I'll be juggling Enduring Cry and Infernal Cry in between cremationing on single target. Obviously, I won't be rotating Warcries for Macler. But yeah, it's like a really similar tree to Spellslinger Volatile Dead. It should be really tanky. It gets Glancing Blows, Block Cap day 1. And having Bone Offering sustain, Enduring Cry sustain, Block Cap should be absolutely no problem. And yeah, it's just a really flexible build, and it should let me do all the content. And the other thing which is fun about it is because you pre-lay the cremations, I'm sure there's going to be one of these plant combos that is just like the most bullshit enemy we've ever seen. So I can just like lay my cremations, trigger the plants, and then run away, and they'll die. Meanwhile, Mr. Bonk, Ziggy's like queuing up his war cries, he's getting excited to walk up to them, and then he'll just get like one shot. So yeah, I'm looking forward to killing things from slightly further away. So that should be fun. For builds, I'd recommend. Or did someone want to talk about my starter before I get into what I recommend?
Cremation.
I was just imagining Ziggy running around in circles, screaming, like thinking to himself, "Fuck! I wish I had a War Chief totem." I was like, "God damn it!"
That's not gonna happen.
He killed this thing.
Oh god! You know what would be really good for that situation you just described, Tarke, with the plants?
Mhm.
Stormbind. Funnily
Hey.
enough, Stormbind was awful last league, but maybe this is the league where Stormbind shines. Where you can queue up your massive grid in your garden, pop
I
all your
think so, yeah.
plants, and then blow up everything with one shot.
I'm gonna play
You agree?
Stormbind this league. I'm gonna do it.
Do it.
As you watch.
Oh.
League
I'm
start.
gonna do it. I'm not
League.
I'm not that brave.
Oh.
Go on.
It
Come
can
on,
actually
you
get
coward.
okay. It can actually get pretty good damage on garbage gear. I did theory craft a league starter Stormbind build. It has like a 400k average hit, and you can get like 5 or 6 overlapping explosions very easily.
League started, you coward.
I think you have to at this point.
Oh, no.
And yeah, for the build I'd recommend, I'd probably say Ignite in general. Fireball Ignite's always been strong. It got buffed, it's a bit boring. And Armageddon Brand, just like crazy scaling, and that it will definitely work. And 250% more Ignite damage is silly. I think going Stormfire Penance Ignite, once you've got the gear for it, will be absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, I'd recommend Ignite Trickster, maybe Armageddon Brand, and then maybe you transition into the Penance thing, and then you feel super cool, because you're like, oh, I'm using a new skill, and I'm lightning, you know. So it feels kind of fancy. And I'm sure Raiz, you probably like planned out that build, right?
Keep going, Tarke.
Okay, so basically, I've just recommended Raiz as League starter, and then for the build, I'd say to avoid Stormbind. I think you'd have to be a very interesting person to go Stormbind. Don't do it. Ignore Octavian.
See, it's not actually good for the garden, like Ziggy said, because the way that it works is you have to charge it with Rune Blast, and then when you release Rune Blast, everything explodes. So you can't start your fight without releasing Rune Blast and exploding everything before you can start the fight.
True.
So you
And
get
with
a
the mana stuff, you can stack it really fast.
just get a friend.
Yeah, no,
You-
honestly, I think like a not a starter, but a second or third build of the league with some investment in specific unique interactions, Stormbind could be pretty legit.
Wait.
But
Could you put it on a totem, throw out some worms? Would they attack the worms and charge up or
yeah,
something?
they kill the worms.
yes,
And then you could click in between and have it prepared.
No, okay, this is what you actually do.
Oh, no,
So
no.
you know back in the day when you had like strong boxes everywhere and big root races, you'd have a dedicated box clicker. What Octavian needs is a dedicated plant clicker.
yes. If you're doing duos,
Oh.
Stormbind is way better for plants.
Mm.
Your friends
okay,
probably can't click your
legitimately.
plants.
Legitimately, it's a
Same.
fairly good mid to high investment build. It's not a great league starter though.
So yeah, just to reiterate, I would say avoid Stormbind. What about you, Raiz?
See, but yeah, you ruined my whole thing, because your build to avoid was supposed to be Wintertide, and the build that I'm going to be starting with is Wintertide.
I think
So,
Wintertide's going to be really strong. I just think most people will build it wrong and have a terrible time with it because you need the cast speed. So
there you go.
yeah.
See, that I feel like that makes sense. I think a lot of people are going to make the mistake of going occultist.
Yeah.
The biggest mistake that you can do with occultist specifically is that if Wintertide is shit, you can't switch to Essence Drain as easily as you can with Trickster. So all of the entire premise of my Wintertide start is based off of the fact that I can quickly back it up with Essence Drain, and it's only specifically because I'm racing to 100. Otherwise, I would definitely start with Wintertide. I think it's a very solid, very well-rounded build. I think Tricksters are very powerful. You can do obviously everything in the game. It doesn't require a whole lot of gear at all. The primary ways of scaling it are accessible through Trickster, which is duration and cast speed. So if you're not racing to 100 on solo self-found, I can wholeheartedly recommend it. But that wouldn't be my recommended build. I gotta go with the meta pick. As much as I'm shitting on the speed of Volatile Dead, I will gladly tell you that, in fact, Volatile Dead Necromancer with Spellslinger is pretty good. I'm shocked that it didn't get nerfed. It actually got buffed, and you should be playing it. That's the reality of it. There's many reasons why, even though I don't think that it's the fastest, I think it's the best league starter across the board. Is just because it's one button, which a lot of people like. It doesn't need more than a 4-link really. The 5-link and the 6-link are, you know, they're gonna help, but like it's not really a big deal. You don't have to think and focus on clicking all these freaking different buttons. You just click one and then you click another one every 30 seconds, so you can focus more on like optimizing your gear and actually going faster with your gameplay, which is very beneficial. A lot of people underestimate that. And yeah, VD is pretty good. And then the build that I want to tell people not to really start with is cremation. See, I was going to do the reverse and it kind of works. I think cremation is slow and it's a shitty version of like other things. I think it's a solid build if you're setting out to do bossing, which in Harvest, we might get a lot of that sort of gameplay. But I think a lot of other builds accomplish what cremation does simply better. And if you're not like a hardcore try-hard pretty much, I really wouldn't recommend it. Actually, are you playing hardcore or are you playing softcore?
I'm doing a big softcore combined private league with Ziggy. My thought process for why I'm going cremation is basically, I think Necro's, as you say, too good to start. I just find Spellslinger too boring. So it's just like...
There you go.
That's the thing. It's like, I genuinely think the spell... I even said this, I made a video, it's like, if Spellslinger is like better, but the holding down right click, I'd fall asleep so quickly. And cremation, cremation's a lot better if you want a boss. So it's like, if you want to do the boss, you're way better off on a cremation character than a VD Spellslinger, unless you've got like insane levels of gear. So it's like, yeah, your mapping will be worse, but you've got a much more well-rounded and, in my opinion, interesting character. But for most people, they would prefer the right click to win.
If you want to do bossing with cremation, I can recommend anointing the new Intensify node and running Conk Effect and Intensify in your links, because then you get enough, you shrink the AoE enough on the spread of the projectiles that like 90% of them will land on a single target.
That's a big deal.
It's a very big deal. I have a viewer who's like hard into cremation and he's been min-maxing it, and he has a low life Inquisitor cremation build that has about an 8 million average hit with his cremation. And he estimates that it does like 400 million DPS or something with every projectile landing. So 90% of that is probably enough to kill monsters. Probably. I'd have to check.
Yep. The numbers get really, really, really ridiculous on cremation. Even on a 5-link, I was getting like 400k balls on SSF. And that was like on a turbo tank build, you know? My first Awakener kill and all that. So, yeah. Cremation's cool. I just think it's not a league starter.
I think it's totally a league starter.
If you don't care about Zimba.
I think it's totally a lead starter. It's so comfy to play, and when you play it on Necro, it's just. Was that on Chieftain?
No, mine's
But this
Necro.
is coming from a guy who wants like a WoW rotation, and you're calling that comfy.
Really
Do most people using 2 skills is not good?
Dude, it's just it's just desecrate cremation and one time, and then everything starts dying, and you just kind of click the monsters where they died, and everything dies, and then you just run. That's it. That's literally it. You put your everything, all your like automatic skills and like cast and damage taking if you want that. Dude, you're playing a Necro, you can't die already. You're playing a skill that has high damage and everything AoEs, and you can stand still while everything is leeching and dying if you crash. It's like, it's great.
I'm with you. Again, I like cremation. All it boils down to, I wouldn't recommend it for those reasons. But something that Octavian mentioned that is really cool about cremation is that once you get your damage to those sort of numbers, even using something like Unleash, because a lot of people complain about the burst of the skill, even though it's fast cast speed, it's like a setup and you got 3 or 4 of those volcanoes. Like Unleash actually makes that pretty freaking fun. Tried that for a little bit when I couldn't get enough damage on my boss killer, and it was like, yeah, you're doing less damage, but because you're doing the damage faster, it ends up evening out, and the consistency is much higher. Yep.
I'm looking for.
There's no doubt if you like Spellslinger playstyles, there is like an added step. So if you need it that simple, then yes. Because I would actually agree with you on your recommendation on Spellslinger, is that if you've never played Spellslinger or Poet's Pen, I would encourage you to try it out once. Because it's really a unique, different way of playing if you've always played something where you kind of always have to target and slam and all that kind of thing.
If you're not like interested specifically in the VD Spellslinger as well, there's plenty of other great ways to play Spellslinger. Like, Ball Lightning got kind of buffed with this match, to be honest. Yeah. Like Ball Lightning Arc is an excellent spell slinging setup. for clear and single target. You can do Spell Slinger with like maybe Cold Spell Slinger doing Freezing Pulse Frostbolt or Frostbolt Freezing or Frostbolt Ice Nova.
There's the chaos stuff that everyone's going to be doing because Tai hypes it up. That you can do the blade shit, like Blade Fall, Blade Blast. You know, you've got lots of options. I just personally, I just find that playstyle just like I always find it kind of annoying when GG's like, okay, we're gonna try and push these really cool playstyles where you combo multiple buttons together, and then like, or we're just gonna introduce this thing where you just it's completely automated and fuck that, pressing 2 buttons. Am I right, guys? Who the fuck would want to press 2 buttons? Just press 1. So just. Yeah.
Wait, but I tuned into this podcast to get help on which build I should play, and I'm confused. Should I play Cremation or not play Cremation, guys?
Stormbind. No, again, just to reiterate, we all
yes.
say that you should 100% League start Arcanist Firestorm. That is the build.
No.
Thing is, the biggest mistake that people make, in my opinion, when choosing their build is not taking into consideration, especially when they're copying the build from somebody else, what that person is doing and what they're going to be doing, what league they're playing, what kind of content they're looking to do. They're looking to acquire currency, get levels, focus on missions. So like really think about that. And since Ziggy got so many recommendations, I would like to sneak one more in: Freeze Pulse Totems.
Yes.
Because Ziggy covered like a wild base. And I think Freeze Pulse Totems got juiced and they were already really good. And when you're doing Freeze Pulse Totems on top of it, get a Raid of Splinters and try out Winter Orb Totems. I promise you, you won't regret it. It's fucking sicko mode. But Freeze Pulse Totems will be better, and it's pretty similar playstyle.
We had a conversation
if you like totems,
ages ago, sorry, when it was like between Freeze Pulse and Frostbolt. What's your thought process on that? Just because both of them got like crazy buffed, and it's kind of like, ooh.
Freeze Pulse is just better.
Freeze Pulse.
Just a better Frostbolt, especially on a totem. Like outside of a totem, it's different. But on a totem, yeah, they've pretty much functioned pretty similarly. It's just that Freeze Pulse delivers damage faster,
That's
with a bigger spread, and it's more consistent.
Right, go on, Oct. What about you? What are you starting?
I'm going to be league starting Mines of some sort. I haven't made up my mind exactly as to which skill.
Oh,
Toxic
come
Rain
on.
Mines.
You said Frostbolt, dude.
No, Frostbolt. Frostbolt is what I was practicing yesterday. I took Frostbolt through the story. It felt pretty darn good. Toxic Rain Mines is like my build I'm really familiar with that I can fall back to, and Wave of Conviction Mines actually has some crazy high damage as well, and I might be going that. So I just need to decide basically, but one of those mines seem like they're going to be really, really strong for the Harvest League mechanics, so they're kind of a no-brainer as a starter. And then I have a bunch of weird builds to do after that, like Stormbind or Explosive Arrow Bleed. Explosive Arrow Bleed is actually really cool, but I won't get into it because it's not a starter. What I would recommend people try is Fireball. That got a big nasty buff and looks really good for either Ignite or as a Mind skill. Possibly with Arcanist Brand, but I'm really deterred by the 1 second cast time on placing an Arcanist Brand. Like, before I saw the gem info, I was going to say, yeah, Arcanist Brand Fireball could be cool too, but nah. No.
I see.
And what I recommend people avoid was going to be Arcanist Brand, but then Ziggy stole that. So I also recommend that people avoid any build that isn't good without Cluster Jewels on your tree, because Cluster Jewels are going to be harder to roll, and they're probably going to be rarer than they were last league. So plan your tree without Cluster Jewels, and if the build isn't good, don't play it.
Yep.
Did they clarify whether, like, when small jewels drop, is it still, or does Delirium only spawn in maps in general?
No, it spawns from Act 6 onwards.
Yeah, because Chris was saying that he dropped like 6 jewels in Act 7 or something like that.
He said something. I think it was like you should expect to get 5 to 7 on your way to maps.
Yeah, those are all going to be large
on the way
at
to
high
maps.
level though.
Yeah. And they did say specifically in the patch notes, if I remember correctly, it'll be harder to get 2 jewels. Like they'll be harder to roll the larges. I think rolling the mediums and the smalls will still be fine, but like rolling the larges will be a real problem. But maybe it'll be easier because you've got targeted crafts now, so maybe it's like they're harder to roll, but with the new crafting, it's easy. I don't know.
You can't craft clusters.
Summoners will still be very good next league.
Wait, did you say you can't
What
craft
kind of
clusters?
summoner?
Or
Yeah, and before I was just joking.
Oh
I
no,
don't
you
know.
can, because we've seen one of the crafts they've shown us is like adding
Yeah,
implicits
yeah.
to jewels and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one was interesting, and they showed like the 3 shittiest implicits in the world for them to.
You don't want 1% movement speed? Just get like 50 jewels, dude. So good.
Pretty good.
Before we'll get into the crafting stuff from what we've seen, but Niggy, what about you?
I am playing Berserker Warcries. I think the thing that finally sold me on it was the high uptime of Berserk, because I was so worried about surviving, but I'm thinking if I can just keep the Berserk up, and then I'm seeing it's about to run out, and then I'll like make sure I have my Endurance Cry and maybe like a VMS ready or some other like skill to just, because it's only gonna be like 3 seconds of downtime until I can cast it again. And it's like an extra fortify. So I think that playstyle will be really nice. And I'm thinking that will be nice because even if it seems to be a little too hard to boss with, once I get into like red maps, I can always just zoom maps, get tons of gear, and then reroll into a more boss-friendly setup. So I mean, I have Chieftain and Juggernaut as well as options. So that's gonna be my league starter.
Hardcore Soul Self-Found.
Yes, Hardcore Soul Self-Found. I mean, I'll try and like, you know, I'm playing as much as I can, as much as my serial allows it, and then, you know, hopefully I can like push decent XP, and then maybe get in line for a laptop if possible. We'll see. I think the build can pull it through. You know, I mean, there's a lot of memes about, especially when you take Aspect of Carnage, but taking like high damage nodes also allows you to take a lot more defensive nodes, because now you have damage, so now you can scale defense. So, you know, getting all the fortify nodes, I'm getting all the endurance charges. You know, the tree is looking pretty good. Yeah, it's going to be speedy, but also very bursty in damage, which is, I mean, that's a good recipe generally, as long as things come together, because I have 12 active skills I could possibly use.
You get the foot pedals out.
Maybe not. Yeah.
I will actually say, if anyone wants to go super big tech, if you want to make your Warcry experience good, just order like 5 foot pedals. It needs to Twitch Prime, Amazon Prime that for tomorrow, and that you can just have Warcry on each one.
Give voice attack and yell at your computer.
Nice.
I do think before scaring off anyone too much with all these active things, I think the natural like flow in maps will be something like you are using your what's it called? You're using your what's the name of it? Seismic Cry mostly. I'm actually not sure of the skill yet. It's probably gonna be Earthquake, but you're using like your best AoE skill, like once, you know, every few seconds to like maintain your Berserk and just to have the AoE. And that's all. You're just running from pack, bonk, pack, bonk, pack, bonk. Okay, just buff up again, pack, bonk, and you're running really fast as well. So even though you have so many things, it's more going to be like, you just need to be reactive with when you use it. And then especially on the boss, that's where all this fun stuff comes with you buff, the double cry, curse, flask, bonk, bonk, cry again, and then everything. It's gonna be really fun, because when everything comes together and you get that one shot, those are moments to live for in PoE, honestly.
Moments you tell your children and grandchildren about.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing to really stress is, if you are playing that build, you don't need to go full rotation every pack. Like, imagine you're playing Divine Ire. You don't fully charge Divine Ire every white mob. You need to know like when you just tap it and when you go, you know. So what's your recommended?
I recommended. I mean, if you are a 400 APM gamer, honestly, I would say try Warcries. If you like very active playstyles, I do think that there is a good build there.
I love this. Nuki's like, I recommend this build, which is my build. Then I will play my build, and also if you don't like it, don't play my build.
Well, okay, so what I would recommend for like the, you know, less masochistic gamer, I haven't heard a lot of self-casts, so maybe like Ball Lightning with Unleash is actually been a build that's been very strong for a long time, and it got buffed twice over with Unleash of the Tree and Ball Lightning. That should be speedy and nice. And the thing is, unleash is actually a good mechanic when you're like spawning a boss. You unleash, and then you can kind of like reposition, cast like some buffs or something, and then unleash again. You don't have to stand there and perma self cast, which can be really difficult on like self cast builds. So unleash, kind of like unleash builds are very good for that. And you can have like 2 unleash setups, like one of a single target one with like maybe a slow approach, and the other one which is just like a generic damage, either just for the map. So that's a really good one. And then I mean, Summoner is always strong.
Yep. Redemption Sentries are still really good. I remember Camel races quite a lot, or used to race a lot with Ball Lightning, and it used to be a bit of a meme, but he would always put up good times with it.
Yeah, in recent times we've seen some people replacing like Wave of Conviction for less utility setups and just using Bull Lightning for that, and they liked it a lot. Pack was doing, I think, Bull Lightning with Cremation for single target. Yeah, that was cool.
And what are you avoiding? What's the big no-no?
Avoiding. Oh, right. There's also an avoid. Oof. I think the most volatile ones in terms of is anything brand right now. I think that could be a real hit and miss. So I'd be very careful. If you don't know what you're doing, I mean, if you don't know what you're doing, be careful. That's dangerous waters.
I think it's definitely the easiest one to like screw yourself by.
Builds. I think unless you're going like Toxic Rain and Caustic Air, attack bow builds might be rough with the garden running over you. So be careful with that.
Whenever like new skills, I'm also very nervous about Earth Shatter.
I was waiting for one of you guys to mention Earth Shatter on like, I think on General's Cry it will see use, but otherwise that skill looks awful to me.
There's so many reasons it might not work very well.
Yeah.
List them. Go.
Design wise. Sure. So the first one is it wants you to Warcry after you kill the monsters. So that's a weird twist of how you normally Warcry. So what Earth Shatter does is a new skill where you slam the ground and it puts 5 spikes out at a bit of a distance away from you from the video, kind of like towards the outer edges of the screen, about halfway. And you can do it 3 times, so you can get, I think it's like 5, 10, 15 max spikes. And then you can trigger them with another slam, not it. It doesn't trigger its own spikes. You have to use another slam skill, so that's probably not going to happen much. Or you have to use Warcry to trigger them. Now, I will say, it could work well in a 2-person team if your other person's using slams.
It's true.
Multiplayer viability, for sure. But for single player, it means you basically have to Warcry after you are finished slamming. Now, it has massive dead zones in between each of the spikes, basically. Think of them like thin sunder effects that go off in a star direction from your character. So it misses all the monsters. You slam 3 times, it misses all the monsters. Then you have to Warcry to trigger the explosions to kill everything. So I'm very concerned about that. I will expect to see a video on Reddit where people stack 3 and then one-shot a boss with it, for sure. I think there's a lot of potential there. But playing the skill sounds like a real problem.
There's also the issue that if you leap slam, you use up your exerts. They showed off a passive. That really annoys me, actually. They showed off a passive where they realized, okay, we had a problem that we made leap slam a slam skill, so it's using up people's charges. So you have to spend this point so it doesn't use your charges. Wouldn't it have been a lot better to have it the other way around, so you have to spend a point to have it do that? It just seems like a really weird, like, oh, we fucked up, here's a skill point.
You have to pay taxes. 1 point passive tax to use leap slam. Yeah, the other problem is like you're gonna be slamming and moving, and then if you want to trigger with leap slam, that's the idea people said. Like, I'll just trigger with leap slam, Ziggy. You're just gonna jump over it. Not to mention, you have to like specifically jump on the spike to trigger it. That's I don't think that's gonna be a good idea.
You also have the problem that you can't leap slam in your chieftain build because that will use up your tower mana. And even if you have the node, it will still use it up because that's a separate thing.
Yeah, I'm not using leap slam. To be too slow anyway. It'd be too slow anyway. I'm gonna have like 1 attack every 2 seconds, dude. My attack time's gonna be like 1.5 to 2.
Every build needs to get 155 dex for a level 20 dash now.
Yep.
Speaking of too slow, what do you guys think about Sunder, huh?
Oh god,
Fucking,
monolithic.
Going back in time now.
Yeah. We managed to get through intros faster than Sunder finishes its animation. Like, Jesus, that's so bad.
It reminds me of the wave that Incinerate releases, which has always really frustrated me with how slowly it travels.
Mhm.
I think we need to get the Chris away from watching like movies. I think he's been watching too much Back to the Future.
There you go. Have you ever played Incinerate, Octavian? That's like yeah, the wave. Like because basically if you're playing like Ignite Incinerate, the wave always does the same amount of damage, always 500 more. But then like when you release it, it's so aggravating how like slowly it travels down.
no.
It's
I hate
awful.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
David
if there's,
doesn't agree.
no, if there's been any skill that's been the most aggravating thing they've ever done to any skill, it's been what they did to Incinerate for me. I loved Incinerate. I played so many times and they did that.
Wait, you said Incinerate?
I did, yes. It's okay.
I thought you said Wave of Conviction.
No, I'm glad we agree. No, Wave of Conviction,
Oh.
I don't mind, actually.
I don't know how I processed that. Hey, I'm an old man. What can I say?
Incinerate.
But
is
it does
yikes,
because
though.
with Sunder, it's kind of comparable, right? Because Wave of Conviction, they
Yeah.
did the whole thing where it's the minimal range and it's like literally melee now. So, Chad, I did that on purpose. Everybody's always posting how Octavian says something and I repeat it. I did that on purpose. Okay.
One of my Patreon tiers is I'll do a paint drawing, and I got a request which was, can you please draw Octavian explaining something to Raiz on Baeclast and Raiz not understanding what's going on?
I feel like I've been doing well this one.
No,
you know? I've been okay.
Very good.
Yeah.
That was one thing actually that Noogie touched on a little bit earlier, but I'm surprised you didn't mention it to all Raiz. So are you not going for like the laptop race? Because there's this big laptop race that we haven't mentioned at all. Or are you just going for 100?
I really want to do a 100 race because we've had like boss kills and then the China race happened and then I didn't pop off too much in the delirium race, by the way, because of a bug. Okay, that wasn't my fault. It would everybody was wondering how I died to the hunter mobs. They thought I was retarded. It wasn't my fault. The hunter mobs, they apparently couldn't mitigate their damage. Okay, one. Oh, Methyl and Baeclast, nice. And two, they weren't like considered an attack or a spell anyway, so you couldn't even dodge or anything. All right. So that was my league start, but fortunately they changed it now. So if you were scared of hunter mobs, now you don't have to be as much. You know.
Oh,
so
but
I
you
really
can't
want
be
to
immune to poison now, so now you just die to poison. Unlucky.
just play CI, lol. Easy. I'm
play
going CI.
Lol.
But yeah, I really want to do the 100 race. So yeah, but I think the laptop stuff is cool and some people are going to go for it, but I think it's not necessarily going to take as long as like expected because the raffle is for a week.
See, I thought a week wasn't enough time.
Really?
Because of the way the RNG works. Like I don't know. Because
I think standard Google is gonna get it done so fast.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
Seeds.
Yeah, but like if any of the SSF players, it's like good luck. It depends how good GGG is with boss RNG. It's just GGG doesn't have the best track record of boss RNG, and the way it works is you plant tier 1 seeds for a chance for tier 2 seeds. Then you plant tier 2 seeds for a chance for tier 3 seeds. Then you need to plant the tier 3 seeds for a chance to get the tier 4. Then you need to get all the tier 4 bosses before you get the Uber boss. So
it's talisman all over.
You might get really unlucky and you might never get the tier 4. Or you might get the same tier 4 boss over and over again and never get the other one. Like, you could be the first person. Like, Noogie could, like, pog out his slam build, could be the best build ever seen. He's the first person to maps, he gets the first 2 bosses, and he just never gets the 3rd boss. And it's like...
That reminds me of there was, like, one race. I can't remember which one it was. But there was, like, $1,000 for the first Shaper kill or something like that. It might have been the Awakener kill, because there were, like, other kills on the way, too. and somebody had like 17 fragments, but he couldn't get Minotaur, and then somebody else did it. It's just like, oh, I guess that happened.
I mean, we could hope that the way if there's a fragment system, that is more like as long as you accumulate, enough of these seeds, it kind of like leads into you getting a fragment of each. I think about it because like you're gonna get a pretty much an even assortment of all the different seeds, I would assume. I don't think that's gonna vary that much because we're gonna get so many of them. You don't think so?
I don't know if that's a fair assumption to make. We don't know what all the different seeds do.
Okay. So it would be easy to be screwed over if you only get like, let's say you get 10 fragments of each, right? That would be easy to be screwed over. But you're getting literally hundreds of seeds. Like you're not gonna get like 300 of one type of seed and then 50 of the other.
I mean, you could do. I mean, like think about how breach splinters work. Like there might be like one which is rarer. Like it'll be like Tull and Ash are common.
Okay. Oh, if they have like the rare tiers in there as well.
Yeah, because surely not all crafts are made equal. So some of them will be a bit...
No, but that's not...
But the crafts come from the seeds. So like, I'm assuming like the seeds will have some kind of rarity tiering. So it'll be kind of like fire, ice, lightning, chaos, fizz might be really common. But then like the influence stuff, because that'll be like an influence seed will be rare. Or you might just be in a situation like, because like this is the thing as well, right? So let's say that you have 100 of every tier 1 seed. It's like if you flip a coin, like it should be 50-50. If you flip it 100 times, you should get 50 heads, 50 tails. But out of your 100 of all of them, you might get 90 tier 2 fires, but only 10 tier 2 lightnings.
I hate this argument. You guys keep talking about hundreds of seeds. I hate it because I'd have to pick them shits off the ground. Okay, yeah. I want them to drop like 3 seeds and I'm done. All right, I don't want to worry about 100 seeds I got to pick up.
We've seen you pick up the cash and you pick up like 3 stacks of 3 from what we've seen.
That's it. That's exactly what you're doing. Yeah, you got it.
Too many.
But the thing is, like, okay, so. If let's say there's like 3 different bosses for all different seed types and you have to get all 9, I mean, that could be really RNG. But if it's fragments and you just need to get 1 of each and then that leads into maybe a dude, that might not be too bad. It depends on how they set up that system. And I mean, we could hope that they've learned from previous fragment systems where people get super screwed on RNG, that maybe it's not that heavy on RNG in terms of like just unlocking the uber dude, but maybe getting all the smaller dudes might be more RNG, but actually just as long as you get through all the grind, you can get the big flower at the end at least.
Yeah, but those guys are tied to the crafts too, right? And they want the crafts to be available. So I'm thinking that there would be some way to like manipulate it, right? Because like, especially if we don't get the option to store craft.
Right.
I'm actually really curious. Bit of a side point, but I'm really curious what the rewards for the bosses are going to be. If we're going to see a continuation of the theme of crafting being the rewards, so there's like really powerful.
Aren't they where the uniques come from?
Bosses? Is it? That's probably the case. Yeah. That's what I was going to say next, or whether it's just like some cool uniques for the league mechanic, which is probably the case because that's more. I don't know. That I guess that feels like it gives the boss more identity.
I would guess they would. Sorry to interrupt. I would guess they would drop the uniques and then either like a special craft seed, or we've seen like these new scrolls and stuff, or maybe like the lab stuff, you know. So I imagine it'd be like a unique and then like a special seed or something.
Can see that. I hope it's not too RNG gated, but I still think it's going to happen pretty early. Like I think the laptop is going to be claimed within like 2, maybe maximum of 3 days. And people are going to be like 100 by day 5 or 6. So
was the laptop first for SSF or the first for anyone?
There's 2. There's one laptop for first SSF HC, and there's one laptop where anybody who kills the Uber boss within the week enters a raffle,
right? Okay.
And then one person gets picked out.
Yeah, I think the raffle one will go quickly. I don't think the SSF hardcore one will go that quickly. I wouldn't.
Oh, you think that?
Oh, sorry.
You think that the raffle will end before the SSFHC kill?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if no one kills it the first week. Genuinely.
That would be very surprising to me.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Very surprising. we're gonna get all the answers and have to unlock it within like day 1 or 2. And then it's just a matter of doing it.
Right, no,
I
okay,
mean,
so
unless it's super stupid RNG,
okay,
then sure.
because there's RNG, and the fight might just genuinely be fucked.
Yeah.
Because it might be the thing of, like, you get the RNG, but then you can't do the fight. And you're only going to get 1 attempt. So you'll get 1 attempt, and you've got to go through all the RNG again. So you've got to kill it on your first try.
Like 6 or 7 days, though.
And that was super scuffed.
That was, like, a lot. And it could have been faster, too, but it was bugged out, so...
Like, it's like there might be a bug. This has been, you know, they've had the whole COVID thing. If anything about the league was going to not work, you'd make it the boss, because that will affect the least amount of people. Because that's what you would do. You'd make the core mechanic work. You would want the boss to ship perfectly. But if you were to leave a bug in anything, it would be in the uber boss that would affect the least amount of people.
And then put a prize at it as well.
I mean, Awakener.
Not this again.
I don't know. I'm hoping it's smooth. I hope
they
it works.
decided like the Awakener race was a community. You know, it was Sis setting all that up, right? So, you know, they was like, okay, we can get this done. It's gonna be fine. This time they're setting it up. They're deciding we're ready for this.
Yeah.
I mean, let's hope it's not gonna be, you know, impossible to finish.
I'm confident and I'm hoping it's worked, but as I'm saying, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, it really wouldn't surprise me if people didn't get it in the first week. Also, I just realized I accidentally said the C word during that, so this entire Baeclast is now demonetized on YouTube. Brilliant. Oh, nice.
Well done.
Nice.
Nobody understands your accent anyway.
Yeah, it's
Tarke,
fine.
don't
It's
worry
fine.
about
The bot won't pick it up.
I actually had a little point before I forget it from earlier with Ziggy. You know, with the totems. You know what you could do? Decoy totem. No, decoy totem.
I could use decoy
and
totem.
it gives you time to regen your cries.
And if I do it first against a boss, it'll taunt the boss, and then the boss will be perma-taunted by it rather than me. So I'll take 10% less damage.
Shouty man use shouty stick.
Yes.
Okay, yes, you sold it to me. Shouty stick. Because I'm big man shout bonk with stick, and now I have a shouty stick too. It's my shouting stick. Yes. You sold it to me. Good. Maybe I'll do that.
I feel like you guys have single-handedly turned away all of the remaining players who wanted to play two-handers. It's like, you need a big brain, you need to figure stuff out. It's like the two-hander guys theory crafting will big bonk, big hit, oof, go boom.
I think this is appealing to the vast majority of our audience. I sure see a lot of smokes in chat, so I think you're wrong, Raiz. I think the vast majority just want big bonk. I think we want big bonk.
Oof, boom, boom. Yep. I'm with it.
Is that right, chat?
He convinced me. That's for sure.
Turn them into red milk.
So one thing I would like to talk about, so on the last Baeclast we were kind of like optimistic, but a bit like unsure about the whole crafting system. After we've had the last like week or 2 weeks of spoilers and teasers, has anyone's like opinions on Harvest changed? I know, Raiz, you were saying that like you weren't that excited for Harvest, but you're looking forward to like the patch changes. Are you like more into it, or still I've got to pick up seeds, this is terrible?
Oh no, I liked Harvest. For sure. Like, I was getting everything out of Harvest, and I thought you might be thinking about somebody else. But I wanted a Synthesis Bestiary League, and I think that's what I'm getting. I think it needs to be introduced in like a super appealing way immediately for the community to get behind it, because, I mean, let's just say that Bestiary and Synthesis were some of the most... people were the most conflicted they've ever been, whether or not the league is enjoyable. So they have to like really be able to pull this off well. But for me personally, I think this is going to be the greatest league ever, especially coming from Delirium, which I wasn't a particularly big fan of. I love the patch notes. I love the nerfs, even more nerfs, bring melee back up, you know, remove Necromancer from the game, and then I'm fully happy. Yep. Harvest great.
If they patched it so the seeds were auto pickup, would this be like your perfect league?
I need Fernando. If they would do that, then I'd never get Fernando back, and I miss him. So yeah. Nah, jokes aside, I don't think the seed picking up is going to be that annoying. I think they got the idea, and they're going to do the right thing now.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be the most fun league I've had in the longest time.
No, I'm really optimistic for it. Has anyone else's opinions changed, or have you just like further solidified how you felt about it previously?
Further solidified. I'm
Yeah.
still really hyped. Mechanic that includes crafting and isn't on a timer. Yes, please. Thank you. Also,
Yeah.
colors. I love colors. I forgot what colors look like.
Yeah, I'm super amped for the crafting. I still have the same concerns that it won't appeal to a lot of people because of the timely nature of it. So I think it might. People that could have really gotten into crafting this league might not end up getting into crafting. But I think on the whole, it's a new crafting system and will probably encourage more people that haven't tried crafting to get into it. Maybe just some people will miss out because of the timed nature of it. But I don't mean timers. I mean the crafts being you have to do them then and there. Maybe we'll miss a couple people. So I'm a little concerned about that, but it's a relatively minor concern. I think it's going to be a super jammer for sure.
Super jammer.
Super jammer. Big league go bonk.
What about you, Niggy?
No, I'm pretty much in the same spot as was before. You know, there's gonna be tons of new stuff to play with, like tons of new toys on the passive tree, skills, play styles. Yeah, that's really exciting. Lots of the uniques as well that we can look forward to. On the crafting, I mean, I'm with Ziggy on this. Honest, with the if they don't have at least like a small buffer to just give people like a chance to like not fuck up.
Like being able to like store through
Yeah.
crafts or something. I think that'd be
I've said
good.
this many times. Yeah, just like a few storage. Nothing that you can share with people or you can buy multiple of. It's like you have this, that's it, you know. And then if you fill it up, it's like too bad if you then go again and you mess up, and that's on you. That's all I would like to see.
Does anyone have anything else they'd like to talk about? We're kind of in an awkward spot because Beck said she was going to drop the full crafting list at some point today, and she hasn't dropped it yet. So I was kind of hoping that she was going to drop it during the podcast, so I could just be like, and now we have the list, but it just hasn't happened. So it's like,
we just
now you put it on the
until
spot.
crafting list.
yeah, we just sit it for like 3 or 4 hours. Someone asked me a great question the other day. It's like, hey Tarke, have you ever considered doing like a live patch notes Baeclast? I'm like, yeah, that sounds really fun. All 5 of us can sit here for 4 hours waiting for them to post the patch notes, and then we can all sit in silence for another 4 hours while we read it.
Yep, pretty much.
Yep.
It's a great idea.
Doing that.
Blow it up.
Practice
Yep.
Have you considered that Bex have been like procrastinating while watching Baeclast?
Oh, we're the problem. Yeah.
Yep.
She'll post it as soon as we end. She's like, oh, I can finally go back to doing my work. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, another build that I can recommend for anybody that was maybe interested, because we talked a little bit about summoners, is Summon Holy Relic. It gets crit now, 5% of it. It's pretty cool. You can scale it pretty high up and use some monkeys and keep scaling that crit and use something like Phantasms. It's going to be a nice build. I wish I could play that, but SSF BTW.
This has been good for leagues, god damn it.
Yeah, but it's even better now.
You're right, it is. I mean, especially they changed the minion crit node on clusters. So if you do want to go the crit route, which I don't honestly think is necessarily correct, but if you do want to go the crit route, then you can, run some clusters and really juice it and some extra crit multi and stuff.
What do you guys think about the Cyclone no longer makes you immune to stun while channeling?
I think that was long needed.
Yep.
Honestly, there's a lot of stun immunity in the game anyways, so many of the builds that were like cycloning weren't even using that part of it. Like, the Guardian Cyclone Summoner that I played a bunch of over the last few leagues, that just gets stun immunity anyway. you'd get stun immunity anyway. Like as a Zerker, I guess if you're going for the rage portion, you get stun immunity anyway from like Unwavering Stance if you're pathing through the tree on Necro. Sometimes
Champion has it built in if they're just doing normal Cycling and Pale. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so easy to deal with stuns nowadays. I don't even think it's that big of a nerf to Cyclone. It's just a thing that was hanging around from the olden days.
Did someone mention Fireball Ignite earlier?
Yeah, I
Yes.
said it might be
That
pretty
was
good.
Firestorm Arcanist Brand.
Oh yeah, well that was also mentioned, regrettably.
What do you want to say about Fireball?
Actually, if we're like recommending some builds, non-ignite Fireball with a new cluster duel where you scorch instead.
Yeah.
So Fireball actually has really high base damage, so that can be used with like Spell Stinger and like all sorts of like trigger things. And
What would you
I don't
link
know if,
with
like-
it? A lot of people keep saying Fireball Spell Slinger, but you want like a second ability. So like Fireball and what?
Magma Orb or Firestorm.
Magma Orb?
I don't know if I like the new Magma Orb. Because they
I
like...
don't know either.
I've done Firestorm spell slinging. That's
I don't,
actually pretty
Raiz is
solid.
making eyes at me, so I want to say... I think they like crazy buffed the base skill, but then they removed the Threshold Jewels, which used to give additional proj. So I feel like it's going to feel kind of weird having to run like GMP on it for clear, and I don't know, I think it could have kept the additional proj.
But they give it like 4 radius as well. Isn't it like 22 radius or something now on like a single ball?
So you're
It's
saying
like,
one massive meatball?
yeah, just like
Yeah, I
drop
guess.
one meatball that jumps 6 screens and you're good.
I guess you just
It's
play
still
it like
3 times the size of
Sunder.
Sunder.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Oh, that's fair, that's fair.
Comparing it to Sunder, I don't know. I thought Magma Orb was like one of the juiciest buffs. I'm personally really looking forward to like as another build the Bull Lightning stuff, because we kind of touched on how it was getting changed, but I think it was a pretty massive buff because it like counteracted a lot of the really OP mine builds, but now you can also clear with it a lot better. I like Bull Lightning a lot.
Scale a little bit of AoE, maybe a little more than you used to on the mine build, and anoint the reduced projectile speed node on the tree, and you can still get 13 hits out of it easily. Like it's just a buff.
I mean, the guy I mentioned earlier, Akane, who only plays like Ball Lightning Scion, he did the maths and is like his build just got better. So I think anyone who's playing Ball Lightning Mines, your build does more damage now, pretty much.
That's the thing, that was the thing that surprised me, right? But well, then again, actually, they also nerfed crit, right? So
Hang on, we managed to summon Bex. Sacrifice a corrupted gem to gain 30% of the gem's quality as Gem Cutter's Prisms. Wait, what?
Okay.
Sacrifice a corrupted gem to gain 30% of the gem's quality as Gem Cutter's
Over
Prisms.
20
So it's like
60
it's
GCPs?
no 30% of the quality.
GCPs. 30% of the 20%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that makes 6, right? 6 GCPs.
6 GCPs. So
Oh.
that's 20 quality.
60 would have
Wild
been
gem.
better. Yeah.
That's the full list of the crafts? That was the last one?
Yeah, that was it. That was it.
Oh,
Just that.
yeah,
That's what we were waiting for.
Enjoy Harvest League.
Damn.
No, Bex is dropping a craft in chat because Tarke was complaining.
Oh.
That shouldn't put it out yet.
Mm.
Thanks, Bex.
That is nice for SSF though. I like
Yeah.
it.
Can you
Yeah.
drop a
pretty
better
cool.
one, Bex? That was, I don't know. I'm not into that one.
No, if you okay, so
Goes out of her way.
by getting XP for monsters, you can turn 1 GCP and 1 Vol Orb into 6 GCPs. That's
But then how am I gonna get my 20 fevered mines now? What do you mean? I need those Vol Orbs, dude. Come on.
Augment an item with a new cold modifier. I mean, we knew that. I appreciate them, Bex. Come on, you're not really giving us anything that great.
I'm gonna give you generic ones now, you jerk.
I mean, I didn't tell you how to do your job. I mean, I guess I kind of am telling you how to do your job, but like, I mean, you can give us like a little bit, you know.
Oh god.
Literally telling her how to do her job.
Yeah, I know.
I'm the community, damn it, manage me better.
That is a really powerful craft.
It's
not
good though.
like
It's very good. It's very good.
Hmm.
Okay, so I have a prediction.
Yeah.
About the final boss.
Hang on, you missed one.
It was reforge a non-green socket to a green socket.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, go Noogie. Sorry.
Prediction for what the boss is. I'm predicting Black Lotus.
Oh.
Well, maybe
All
this
right.
one.
That would be the Uber guy. No?
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, I
it's
mean,
not-
the Black Lotus would be the thing that would spawn the Uber guy.
Yeah,
Mm.
maybe. But but they're neon though.
Or
The Black
maybe,
Lotus is neon,
bear with
unless
me
it's, like, neon black.
bear with me here. Maybe the final boss is monocropping and improper irrigation ruining the soil in your garden so you can't plant anymore.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the final boss, and we have to overcome that.
The final boss is dust bowlification of the country.
It's
we over farm the land to the point where it's just barren, and then we've just got to deal with that.
I think it shuffles everything, and then you have to rearrange it. Betrayal style.
Oh god. Oh god. Turns it into your standard stash. It makes your garden look like your standard stash.
I think one thing they could do, just to make the race a little bit more interesting, is if you fail against the final boss, he salts your garden and it's just bricked. Gonna make a new account. Start again from scratch. Screw you.
People earlier in chat were mentioning loot seeds. Like,
Mm.
Do you guys
loot
think? Do you guys think they're gonna add some sort of function to actually like salt your garden and it's just done? Because like so many people are gonna run into a situation or just gonna be planting random seeds, and then somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, actually, this is the way you have to do it for it to be optimized." But then your garden is already like so fucked it would take you 6 weeks to like clean it up to be able to do that thing.
Said you could pick them back up again. It would
Pick them up.
improve progress that they had, but you could pick them back up again.
Oh, you can actually get the seeds back.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
That's what I heard.
Just lose, like,
I don't remember where that was sourced from.
No, I think I remember reading that. I think they learned that lesson from Synthesis.
Beck said you can pick up seeds and replant them wherever you want.
Yeah,
Hmm?
because there's that whole issue with Synthesis where people kind of like breaking their boards, and like they're just stuck because there's nothing that they could do because their board just didn't work.
Very good.
I don't want to
Yep.
put any pressure on you, Bex, but this is literally just us waiting for you to post something. And this is going to be really poor on YouTube because they don't even get the chat. So they're just going to have long periods of just 5 people just staring at a chat they can't see.
You could edit it.
Edit?
You did. You were just a petulant child and didn't believe that the gift you got was good enough. You got an Xbox and you're like, I wanted a PlayStation for Christmas.
Like, okay, to be fair though, Ziggy. It's more like I wanted an Xbox 5 and I got given a 360 and I'm like, I mean, it's an Xbox, thanks, but it's kind of the wrong generation. Like, you know, who've seen this? Let me see if I can improve for spotting something sec. All right, awesome. Cheers, appreciate it.
We're just going to yep class for a second.
Yeah.
Yep.
We didn't actually talk about the general cry, which I did want to talk about.
Oh.
I'm surprised that you guys weren't planning on using general cry at all. Or do you think it's?
It looks awkward.
Yeah.
I think it could be useful. Okay, so my reason for maybe not using it, because I was thinking about using it, like I'm so gem starved already. I have so many things I need to like put together, and I need to link them all to Second Wind and all. Oh, can I just rant?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
What's up with the stupid orders thing? Why does it add cooldown?
I
Yeah.
think it's
Come on.
like I think it's for builds that want like one utility war cry now and again. Like I'm probably going to run urgent orders on builds that just run enduring cry for endurance charge gen now and again.
Yeah.
I want that faster war cry so it doesn't feel as awkward to use every 4th or 5th pack.
But it's already costing you like gems are so valuable. It's already costing you support. Like look at something like imagine like Second Wind removing a charge. Like it's giving you 2 good things. Why is it not? Why just give speed?
So you think? Oh, so your argument is that like the gem socket is enough of an opportunity cost?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I can see that.
I think with how many Warcries they want us to run, I don't see why they need to put more of a cost on that.
With like multiple Warcries all being linked to the same urgent orders. I don't know. I feel like it.
No, but because you
I
already
feel
want
like
them linked to second wind though. So if you have
Yeah.
second wind urgent orders, that's only 2 Warcries, unless you're having like a 6 link for all your Warcries, which.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's I don't think there's enough Warcry speed on the tree even. So I mean, I think we're already starved there, and our only option is Tailwind or like action speed or getting that thing, which is basically putting a big dent in the whole feel of the build because you're constantly waiting now. I don't know. I wanted a little bit more there for like smoothing it out gameplay for the people who are actually like investing in it.
Yeah. I guess I was thinking about the perspective of someone who wasn't going full Warcry ham. It was just maybe,
Yeah.
you know, getting a little slice of that Warcry action.
Right. Okay, I mean, I can see it for that. I feel like the cooldown is always the biggest limiting factor there anyways.
And I agree with that.
With Warcries having much longer animations, I would happily, personally, I would happily add 2 seconds onto my Enduring Cry cooldown in order to get it to actually use. If I'm just using it for some endurance charge gen and the occasional.
But like this is you're arguing from 2 different points of view because Octavian's arguing from
true.
I will only use this once or twice a map compared to I will use this as the core fundamental of my build.
Yeah, and I can certainly understand. I don't know. Because I think urgent orders is fine. I think I would have preferred more Warcry speed just on the tree, like you mentioned.
Yes. That would be my first wish as well. And that's just why I get annoyed with the Warcry duel because I can't use it and there's not enough on the tree. So it's like I feel like we're cheated.
Maybe add it into the pools of mods for like influenced items. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'd like to see some more of it on like cluster Warcry cluster duels as well, stuff like that. Because it's not like you can stack a lot of it and it doesn't really matter too much. You know, I mean, it makes them faster, but I mean, at the end of the day, you're always at a certain point, you're just waiting for the next Warcry to be ready, and it's just making it smoother to play.
I think we should continue this conversation, but I just want to quickly say I just got gifted a Xbox 5. Or what are they calling it? What's the new Xbox called? X1 Series Y.
Xbox One X 360.
I think it's called a PlayStation 5.
I just got one of those in my inbox, but I want to continue this conversation, so we got that for later. But no, I completely agree with Niggy. It is a bit of an awkward situation.
Yeah.
I also.
Are you just gonna chat like that?
Yeah. Well, because again, it's for the YouTube people. Because chat knows I need to keep the YouTube people engaged. I respect my YouTube audience, Octavian. We gotta make this a fair show for everyone. But I do think it's kind of this weird situation. I'm also not a fan of where the big cooldown cluster is above Marauder. It's just kind of in this weird path, and it doesn't mesh neatly with the rest of the tree. Whereas all the other clusters are in deep breaths.
I think it might be okay to have certain, because everything is so condensed in the Marauder area. So if you put everything in too straight of a line, you just end up taking nothing but notables. It's like spreading it out a little bit. I'm not too against it as long as they're powerful enough for you to feel like they earned their right to be out of their way.
See, personally, I would rather there be a lot more notables on the tree. I realize they don't want to just have like 30 Warcry clusters, but it's kind of like if you play a cold build, you don't feel compelled to take every single cold node on the tree. Whereas I feel like if you want to play a Warcry build, you have to. It's like with brands, you would often skip the brand cluster near Sun Life, and you didn't have to go to the cluster near Shadow. Whereas I feel like if you're doing the Warcry stuff, you have to take every Warcry cluster.
I think that's part of the design space that cluster jewels inhabit, though, because that prevents the tree from becoming too cluttered while still giving those options as something you can invest into eventually. You know, if you want to do a different Warcry notable, then you build it into your cluster jewel and you spec out of it on the tree, that sort of thing.
Do any of the Warcry clusters interact much with like Warcry speed and stuff? I haven't checked on them recently.
I don't remember. I'd have been very excited if they did, so I don't think so.
Cluster jewels.
I think
I think you
generally
should give us
they.
a spoiler, Tarke.
You think I should? Okay, fine. Well, Nugi, if you could,
Yeah,
if you could
stop
find the
stalling.
Cluster Jewel stuff, and I'll explain
Yeah.
this PlayStation stuff to chat. Okay, so
Go for it.
here is a line from an upcoming news post. You may augment a cold modifier to an item. But no. You may also eventually find a way to store crafting options for later
What?
use via a Hort for Crafting station. Hort for Crafting. That's a fun word.
It's a combination of horticulture and crafting.
Yeah. Via a
Hort
Hort
for
for
crafting.
Crafting station. This, like
I love it.
other infrastructure elements, will need to be connected to a collector to function, but can store a limited number of crafting options indefinitely.
It sounds like some sort of Dr. Seuss word.
Yep.
That is Megapog. That's great.
That
I hope
is.
you're not trade. I hope you can't trade the crafts, but it doesn't sound like you can.
That's cool.
Great.
That's very cool.
So good. I'm all about the hortification. Yes.
Nice.
Hortify me, baby.
Horticrafting station.
Horticraftification. Horticraftification.
Yeah.
You're a hortification. I'd give you hortification.
Just to read it again, you may also eventually find a way. So is it like a red drop, like you find the station and that lets you store a couple? You
It
may
sounds like it's
Maybe you
more of
get
like
it
a
after the boss.
logistics infrastructure thing.
Oh, like
and
maybe you
not so
kill the
much of
boss and you
character
unlock it. So kind of like how you unlock like an extra slot on your map device from doing a 5-way on Legion. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. This, like other
That's what I
infrastructure elements, will be needed to be connected to a collected function that can store a limited number of crafting options indefinitely.
And
I
it's
like
gonna be very timely as well, right? Because it's probably gonna be, you're gonna discover it once you start entering the high tier.
Hmm.
So you've kind of been forced into this like, oh shit, I need to do this now kind of deal. And then when you finally get to where it really matters, you get that little buffer. Oh, I like that. That's very good.
Nice.
Thank you,
This
Bex.
is great news. That's very good.
Bex, I appreciate that, and I apologize for not enjoying my Xbox 360 earlier. That was very rude of me. Thank you. That's exciting. That solved my that was one of my biggest worries of the league. And we spent a lot of time talking about that in the last Baeclast. I'm really glad that that's not going to be as big of an issue.
Or a bigger issue. Because think about it.
Yeah.
What if you need it
Are
now
we complaining about it already?
and you know there's
Like,
but you don't have it available and then you have to ditch it? It feels even
That
worse.
has got to be record time.
I mean, I do get what he's saying though. It will feel pretty bad if you're like just about to unlock the store, the Exalt, and you're like, "Ay."
Oh, my God, please.
Oh no! Imagine
Just
you
be
have
happy with your horticrafting, damn it.
you have the craft, right? But you can't you need to store it. And the next thing you do, you're gonna be able to store it, but then you can't open the map because then it's gonna get rid of the craft. That would be like the ultimate. You're fucked over. Man, I'm just saying, you know. No, I do hope that it's gonna be like super available and people are gonna like it. I just don't know. I don't know how you can. It just has to be like completely obviously ridiculous for people to immediately enjoy it. And then how do you like trading the seeds? I think is going to be a pretty big factor too. Like I saw a little bit of the podcast that Noogie, Ziz, and Steel did, and they talked about how like people don't even know that they have like a 10 Exalt beast in their menagerie and stuff like that, right? Running into the same issue with seeds would have been pretty traumatizing.
I think seeds are going to be a little less problematic in that regard because it is a thing in your inventory and that it isn't like a beast off somewhere else sitting in a pen somewhere that you have to go and look at. A lot of people like consistently every time I'm playing Trade League and get a really nice beast and go and sell it to someone, I have 1 or 2 people in chat say, wait, you can sell beasts. Like, I don't think you're going to have that stumbling block with seeds. People are going to see the seed in their inventory and know, yeah, I can probably trade this to a person.
Do we know how many seeds there are? Exactly?
Yeah, they posted a list.
Yeah. Oh, we did?
Oh, really?
Yeah, they posted like a list for the
filter.
filters yesterday, and it had everything.
That's true.
How
many are there?
I can't remember off the top of my head. If you want to look it up, but that's one thing also that's worth mentioning, because even if you have the knowledge that you know what beasts are worth something, it's often quite difficult to recognize what beast you killed, because there's so much stuff happening on your screen that if you know, like, oh, this Pharric blah 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 is worth Muns, you can't visually recognize it. Whereas when you literally have the name in your inventory, it will make it a lot easier to be like, oh, that's the money one. So
It's like reasonable. It's like 50.
15 for each tier, 1 to 3, and then 3 tier 4s. So that would be 38. Quick maths.
There you go.
Bonk?
I'm thinking mute. Everybody's looking at the seeds.
Wait, no.
Well, I guess
48. My maths.
I didn't want.
Yeah. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Apparently, I'm very tired because my maths haven't been very good today. Is there any other things people want to discuss?
Discussed.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say one thing. So this is the first time we've done a Baeclast the night before League start, and it's fun. But the issue you have is you've got a bunch of people in the middle of flipping sleep schedules who've just been like crazy preparing work to get everything out of the way. So you're getting the like lowest energy stream as possible, and it's good.
What?
Oh, are you ready to go, Diggy? We're doing another 7 hours, right?
What? No, but lowest energy? I don't know. I think we're pretty good energy.
No, okay. No, let me read. Everyone in this podcast has excellent energy. They have. I only surround myself with the best people. My people, best people, bigly energy people. However, even the best people with the biggest energy sometimes have slightly lesser energy at times. Bigly
Not us,
energy.
right?
Not us, no.
No,
I'm talking specifically about Bex. Bex's energy has been very poor form today. I think we can all agree that her energy has not been huge.
Bex came through though.
Bex came through. We were floundering. We're
back to floundering.
Back to floundering. But did anyone have anything that they want to talk about?
Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'm Tarke Cat, and see you all next time.
Bye.
Is that our